No, no, a ti yo te voy a ayudar. A Tito, él ya, 1962, él solito. No, 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 Hanson. Ya. ¿Qué hiciste en el invierno para ponerte en condición? What was your exercise routine?
Bueno, primeramente, gracias a Dios por estar aquí ahora en este momento, pero trabajé fuerte, cada día me levantaba con más ánimo de empezar un nuevo año aquí en Grandes Ligas. Siempre estuve positivo, que podía hacer un buen trabajo para venir ready para esta temporada 2019.
Why? Got up early every day, motivated, always knowing that I can always improve and do better. Looking forward to this season. ¿Qué hiciste? ¿Corriste? ¿Levantaste pesas? What was your... This guy's laughing. What did you do? Did you run? Did you do cardio? Lift weights? What?
Sí, corría todas las mañanas. Luego de correr iba al gimnasio. Y luego hacía conditioning también en el estadio.
Yeah, I did. I did a lot of cardio. I went to the academy and worked out there and just get busy. D-Rod. So you had a great year, your first year. So how do you improve on that?
Just keep doing what I was doing last year, Just keep working hard and, be positive. Keep strong and go after them.
He was busy on Thursday. It was Thursday, right, that you did a lot of promos for us? He's going to get a bobblehead. No, I want you to share with all of us, what was that experience when you saw it for the first time?
It was pretty cool. I mean, I never expected to get a bobblehead, yet alone this early. So, no, it was pretty cool. You guys enjoy it. Has all the tats, so we're good.
Alan Hansen. Ya por ese habla inglés. He grabbed that microphone. I told him that one speaks English. So, ¿nos puedes decir tu experiencia de jugar aquí frente a los fanáticos? If you can share your experiences with playing at now Oracle Park and in front of the fans.
Primeramente, dándole las gracias a Dios y gracias a la organización de los Gigantes, ¿sabes? Por darme la oportunidad de enseñar mi habilidad aquí en este estadio. Para mí fue muy grande, ¿sabes? La experiencia, porque ya venía de otra organización y no tuve la oportunidad que me dieron los Gigantes, ¿sabes? Y el apoyo que me dieron los fanáticos, que fue, ¿sabes? Un apoyo bien grande, ¿sabes? Al verme jugar en el terreno.
Well, first of all, I want to thank God for the opportunity of letting me play baseball. At the same time, I'm thankful for the Giants that gave me the opportunity to come up to the big leagues. I played with other major league teams and never had that experience. At the same time, I mean, what can I say about the fans? I mean, they're great fans here in San Francisco, and I'm very appreciative of the support that I got from them. This guy. Avelino. Aviatal Avelino. Have you guys seen him in the on-deck circle before he bats? Right? You've seen him, right? That is unique. So that was the question. ¿Nos puedes enseñar cómo es que le haces cuando vas a batear? Por favor. Can you show us that? And then we're going to have Tito do it. Después tú lo vas a hacer, lo que va a hacer él.
That's the way I walk.
Yeah. Él hace eso antes de batear, cuando su manera de... Ajá. Tú lo puedes... Can you try it?
Yo entonces que no...
¿Ah?
En cada turno.
Tito, ese no es el micrófono. Oh, ahí está en el papel. Oh, I thought he was talking to the paper. Go figure. So, Abelino, ¿cómo te sentiste? Estuviste con los Yankees, te cambiaron a los Gigantes y puedes explicar cómo fue tu reacción cuando el equipo te informó que salías de los Yankees y venías aquí a los Gigantes. Can you talk to us about how your reaction was when they told you that you were traded from the Yankees to the Giants?
Okay, let me talk in Spanglish. When the manager gave me the news, he said me, you trade to the Giants. I think, wow, I have the opportunity now. And when they called me out, I said, wow, finally, I have the opportunity now. So that was amazing for me. And I'm here now, and I enjoy too much about everything here. I enjoy the fans, the play, everything. That's it.
Okay. When I first met him, I think it was Denver. Fue en Denver, ¿no? Que te subieron. That was in Denver. So I asked him if he needed help with the translations, and he said, no, I just need help with the question. I just want to make sure I understand the question, and then I'll answer in English. So give him an applause, because he's... Now, Breivik Valera, he's new to the team, but he's been around Dodgers, Baltimore. ¿Qué otro equipo subiste? Oh, St. Louis. So talk to us about this experience of being FanFest, of meeting your teammates for the first time. Platícanos cómo es tu experiencia de estar con los Gigantes y conocer a tus nuevos compañeros de equipo por primera vez.
Bueno, primero que nada, bastante contento y agradecido por la organización, por haberme invitado. Es mi primera vez que estoy aquí en un evento de los FanFest. De verdad, me siento bastante contento. He tenido muy poco tiempo aquí conociéndolo al equipo, pero veo bastante compañerismo, veo un equipo bastante unido. De verdad, los latinos compenetramos bastante bien, y de verdad me siento bastante contento y disfrutando del momento que he estado aquí hasta ahora.
Well, first of all, I'm thankful that the Giants invited me to FanFest. It's the first time that I take part on an event like this. At the same time, it's the first time that I meet all these guys, and what I saw is I see a very united team. I mean, not to say that with all the Latin guys also we kind of get along like if we known each other for a long time. So I'm done with all of them. How about questions? I'll walk down over there with the microphone if anybody has any questions for these guys. Oh, way back there. I'm coming.
How confident are you guys feel about bringing the World Series back to home?
Just anybody?
I mean, who doesn't want a World Series, you know? Who doesn't want one? So, yeah, I mean, I feel like we got a pretty good squad this year, and, you know, we stay healthy. We should make a good run. We'll see.
Derek, you've been giving Pablo any pitching tips this offseason?
Pablo's just trying to get healthy right now. He's concentrating on his hamstring, but I think he did a pretty good job that time he went out. So I think he's all right.
Derek, with your father being Ivan Rodriguez, how much critique is he doing with your pitching?
He's actually pretty calm. He kind of lets me do my own thing, so I like that about him. So I mean, if I do something wrong or if I threw a pitch that was questionable, he'll ask me about it and then he'll let me know about it after the game. But for the most part, he lets me, you know, be me. So it's pretty good.
Anybody has any questions in Spanish? Because these guys feel left out. Over there. No, really. Over there.
Carlos, por el Global Latino Media, muchas gracias a todos por participar. ¿Y qué es lo que esperan en el futuro? ¿Ustedes piensan continuar acá? ¿Cuáles son las expectativas de ustedes? Por ejemplo, pues ya sabemos que Mr. Bernard tiene su programa de radio. ¿Ustedes qué piensan hacer en el futuro?
He wants to know what are the long-term plans for each guy, what do they have for the future after baseball. He used Marvin Bernard as an example. He works on the radio now.
Bueno, primeramente pedirle a Dios salud, que es lo primordial de un atleta. Segundo, que todos queremos ser campeones. Y de luego ser Salón de la Fama, porque todos también queremos eso.
So for Moranta, he wants to stay healthy, obviously win championships.
Yo voy a jugar hasta que me quiten la bola, hasta que yo no pueda más. So I just told them I'm gonna play until they take the ball away from me. I'm not, yeah. So, yeah.
Primeramente, ¿sabe? Pedir salud, llegar hasta como dice Rodríguez, hasta que nos quiten la bola, hasta que no podamos más. Después de ahí, pedirle a Dios que nos dé vida para seguir, ¿sabe? Con la familia, tener tiempo de compartir, que esta es una carrera que compartimos poco con la familia, ¿sabe? Y si tenemos el tiempo suficiente, ¿sabe? Seguir compartiendo y, ¿sabe? Y si los que tenemos niños, darle una buena educación para que sigan los pasos de cada uno de nosotros.
Well, Hanson wants to do the same thing as Derek. He wants to play until they take the ball away from him. But at the same time, he wants health for his family. He wants to be able to spend more time with his family after his baseball days are over because, you know, this career of being a baseball player takes you away from them for a long time. And for those of us that have children, we want them to get an education too.
I just want to play. I just want to play 20 years in baseball, so that's my plan. And after that, I want to take time with my family. I want to know about the world, and that's it. So that's simple, you know?
Bueno, primero que nada, pedirle mucha vida y salud a Dios, y de verdad, pues, y mantenerme siempre sano, ya que sin vida, sin salud y estar sano, uno no puede jugar esta carrera. Y de verdad, mi plan es seguir manteniéndome fuerte mentalmente y sano para seguir dando lo mejor de mí hasta donde pueda.
Well, he wants health too. He wants to take care of his family, and if he stays healthy, he wants to continue playing and just give his 100%. So did you guys all notice that none of them say that they wanted to have a lot of money? I mean, really? Right? I mean, their number one concern is they want to play until they take the baseball away from them, and they put their family and children first. Nobody mentioned money, so give them an applause. Marvin, so baseball player, now you're a broadcaster. Is that how you saw things happening? I mean, when you were in their shoes, did you think about what you wanted to do after baseball?
Be honest with you, when you're playing when you're young, you don't think about the future. You're just concerned about what's happening now. Later on, things start developing to where you start deteriorating and you start thinking about that. My first plan was to go back to school, which I did. I finished up. Then my next plan I wanted to go be a hitting coach at a university. Started looking into that, and the way things play out, I wasn't too crazy. And suddenly you gave me a call and said, hey, you're interested? And I was like, why not? Give it a shot and see what's happening. So far, it's been great. I enjoy doing what we do, and let's see how far it's going to go.
Have you guys, any of you seen the Forever Giant edition with Renell and Marvin? Okay, because every time they ask me if I've seen it, I have not seen it to its fullest. I always catch it towards the tail end of it, where he talks about me. So thank you. No, seriously. I'm doing something, I turn on the TV and I go, oh, I didn't see this. And all of a sudden I see him mentioning me, and it's great. Tito, cuando tú estabas jugando béisbol, ¿pensaste de que tú, después de que terminaras de jugar, querías trabajar en la radio? ¿O cuál era tu plan para después de jugar? The question is, what was his plan after playing baseball? Did he want to work on the radio, or what he wanted to do?
Let me tell you, no, when you play, you never think like you're going to finish your career. You think you can play forever. And that's good. But the only thing I see in these days, and you know how I am, when I talk, I don't give a damn what they think about it. I tell it like it is, with English. Tú sabes, the money, the long contract, that's what I want to tell you. All these guys, don't let the long contract, it's good to have it, but don't let that spoil your goals. In other words, you say, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to be this and this. Now, when you got the 3 or 4 year contract, it's good to have it. But don't start, well, I cannot play today. I got to think about when my contract is out. Because then all the goals that you have, and I'm going to mention like about 10 guys right now that they were super, and when they got the long contract, they slow down. They just play, but not with the same desire. Because what happened, it's going to be the time that you're going to be 35, 30, whatever age, and you're going to regret it. You're not going to tell anybody, but you're going to say, shit, I couldn't do this. Oh. That was Spanish, and you guys don't know. See, if you saw me, okay, what was it? Without the shit, okay. So now, no. It's part of my vocabulary. It's not big word, stinky word. Don't say big word. See now, okay. Oh. Señor, ya tengo 60 años ya. Dime.
No, the question was, the question was...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Porque I see them, and I want to mention 3 right now, but I say no. That they say, okay, now she could. No. Keep on playing. As a matter of fact, do better. That's what I love Posey. That guy has no slow down, no matter about the contract. Let his wife or somebody take care of that. Because when you get 35, you're going to say, shit, I could have done more. Just think like you got to fight for your contract next year. And that's what happened. The big contract has spoiled the game and the players. Because I see them with a lot of, ¿cómo se dice? Se me olvidó, ayúdame. With a lot of, ¿cómo se dice eso? Eso no me gusta. Otra. Que pueden hacer más y entonces they lack of. And at the end, the people going to judge you for what you did. Because they don't see you play. No, I don't finish yet.
No, que te pongas el micrófono en la boca.
En la boca está muy cerca. Entonces ahí se va a ver lo que tú hiciste. People are judge for what they read about it. I'm done for today. Go.
No, but the question was...
¿Me entendieron? No.
No. The question was, after you were done playing, what did you want to do after? La pregunta fue, después de jugar, ¿qué querías hacer? No era que le dieras consejos a ellos.
No, shit. I start good. Yo dije que I thought I never going to end. But now that you said that, Edwin, I don't know how to do anything else. I'm telling you. And then the Giants, somebody saw my sad face. No. they see myself, and they got me because so I start talking. I say, okay, you talk too much, so get a job.
That's exactly what happens on the radio.
Really?
I hardly get to say anything.
No,
At least he knows not to say anything during a home run.
No, I didn't know. So
Yeah, it's okay.
Hey, yo no sabía.
Derek, of your 6 victories last year, which one was the most memorable? And since your dad is a Hall of Famer, what were some things about baseball that he taught you while growing up?
Energy, when you talk.
No, lo estaban grabando. He was.
Oh.
Yeah, la señora lo grabó.
I feel like my first victory was memorable, but the one that I enjoyed the most was the one in Oakland, the first game back. Yeah, the first game back from the All-Star game. That was a fun game. And what was the second question? Sorry, about my dad?
What were some things your dad taught you growing up about baseball, because your dad's a Hall of Famer?
Everything. Everything he taught me. I mean, how to act, how to be, how to act in a big league clubhouse, and how to anticipate things in the game. So I mean, it helped me out a lot last year. So yeah, just how to act, just the little things like that could go a long way. So.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. We're done. Tito Fuentes, Marvin Bernard, Reyes Moronta, Derek Rodriguez, Allen Hansen, Aviatal Avelino, and Breve Valera. Thank you. And we'll see you here for opening day.
face to face, I found my pain beneath the lies and broken dreams. Lost the love I had in me, it tore me apart, fade away. I felt so lost, but I held on to what I had. For what it's worth, if you're feeling low, just know that you can, yes you can. There's life in love that you hold. Rise above and let it glow. Just know that it's never too late to make a change. Crash and burn, I found myself beneath the emptiness. Wanting more, I let it go. Holding on to love. Breaking through, I feel alive. For once in my life, I'ma live by the want to be all I can. Let the rest just crash and burn. Crash and burn. Oh wow, let it crash and burn. This one for the person who feels alone. This one for the hero who has no home. This one for the one who live for hope. Changing better days. Pick your head up, keep on fighting, living, loving. Make your mind up. If you want it, take it, fly away, soaring high above the clouds. Hear the voices calling out. Oh, you want love. Crash and burn, I found myself beneath the emptiness. Make your mind up. Wanting more, I let it go. Holding on to love. Breaking through, I feel alive. For once in my life, I'ma live by the want to be all I can. Let the rest just crash and burn. Let the rest just crash and burn. Round and round we go, losing self-control. I keep telling myself, but I don't wanna let you know. Is this what we become? Strangers on the run, looking for something, chasing the sun. All those days, trying to find a place where you'll make them just be alone, be alone. All those nights lying by your side, like it's a vibe, feeling it shine under your spotlight.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Larry Kruger with KMBR, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., Monday through Friday. Stuart Hall, where did I hear that? Oh my God, look at that, family money. All right, we're gonna have a good time. We got some of the Giant players here. We're gonna have some Q&A. We got some of the doctors here, and you are gonna be a big part of this. So, you know, my questions are probably too harsh. So no, I'm just joking. But I'll throw a few questions in. But then, all you guys think of great questions for the players. And we're going to have Jeff Samardzija up here. Steven Duggar, I believe, is going to be up here. It's going to be good. So, but first, before we do any of that, let's get to our program. This season is, or this session, we should say, is sponsored by Dignity Health, the official healthcare provider of the Giants. Dignity Health has hospitals and clinics across the country. And right here in the Bay Area, they include St. Mary's, St. Francis Memorial Hospital right here in the city, Sequoia Hospital down on the peninsula in Redwood City, Dominican Hospital in Santa Cruz, as well as the clinic right on the Port Walk. And we want to welcome to the stage some of our celebrities here, Dr. Bob Murray, Dr. Tony Saglambeni, and Giants trainer Dave Greshner.
Where are you going to sit us, right here?
Pick a seat, pick a seat. All right. Look at that. These are the guys who basically keep the Giants upright over the course of 162, which is, I would imagine, a huge, huge challenge. Almost as challenging as taking off your jacket while you have a microphone in your hand. All right, let's start with Dave Greshner, actually. Dave, you've been with the Giants a number of years. Dr. Tony was just whispering in my ear, Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer. I said, he's no Mark Laton. No, I'm just joking.
Wow, you're going hard right out of the gate.
I'm throwing fastballs. But Dave, you've been with the Giants since what year?
1996.
And I would imagine, you know, medicine is always evolving, so training methods are always evolving. Are there things that you're doing in 2018 that you guys did in 1996, or is it a whole new world?
I mean, there's a lot of things that we're doing consistently from when I first started till now, but there's probably even more new things. Medicine's constantly changing. Sports medicine's constantly changing. We're always trying to push the envelope to find something new, better. I think one of the biggest changes is the sports performance side of things, the strength and conditioning, nutrition, recovery area. That's probably one of the biggest things in the last 3 to 5 years that has come into our game and something that we've embraced here with the Giants, trying to keep our guys strong, healthy, and feeling their best during the season.
You know, it used to be... you know, Joe DiMaggio, one of the greatest baseball players this city's ever produced, you know, used to swear you never lift weights. You know, baseball players never lift weights. You want to maintain that looseness in your shoulder joint, your elbow joint. And yet, you know, my son plays baseball for Northgate, Walnut Creek. They lift in the morning. They're on the field in the afternoon. They're lifting every morning. Where does weight training come in, and are you three guys involved at all in those programs and overseeing any of that stuff?
Doc Murray runs most of that. I mean, I oversee our strength and conditioning coaches. We have great strength coaches from our minor league system all the way up. I mean, we've put a premium on finding great coaches and implementing great programs. But, you know, that's a big thing, like right now in the off season. Strength and conditioning is preparing for our major league guys 162 games. If you don't put the work in during the off season, it's really too late to try and do it during the season. Of course, the season's a challenge. We play every day, so it's hard to play 9 innings, lift after, or get up early and lift, travel. You know, all these things are challenges. So it's always a tough balance during the season to find the right mix for players, to keep them strong and fresh, but not overdo it. And, you know, that's a forever changing science. There's, like you said, new techniques, new recovery tools. So, you know, we're always looking at all that stuff.
You know, Dr. Tony and Dr. Bob, talk about the injuries that you see the most in baseball and the ones that, that you guys deal with most often?
Well, I think, of course, Dave sees them first, but, the pitchers are primarily the shoulder, the elbow. The hitting, the position players, we worry about, the abs or the groin strains and that sort of thing because they're it's totally different moves, obviously. And then from a primary care point of view, it's like anybody else. Like we're going down to spring training next week, and we'll have sick call at 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, if they've got a cold or they've got an upset stomach or they got a rash, we take care of the whole thing. So it's sort of the whole picture of a primary care practice, except in this case we're dealing with young athletes who have to perform. So there's a little bit more of an urgency with us.
How many baseball players, young baseball players, do we have in the audience? We have a few? A couple? Any? Here we go. We got a couple. Give them some ideas, as far as, things that they can do, things that they can work on as a young age, building up. So, preventative kind of stuff so they don't have the kinds of injuries that you see that are prevalent in baseball.
Yeah, I'll take that first. But to all young athletes, I give kind of the same advice. Many of you guys are getting to be at the top of your age group in your sport, and you're going to see a lot of opportunity to practice and repetition, and it's going to make you better and better. But we do emphasize some balance. Your body needs rest. It needs to use different muscle groups, and as long as you're able to play multiple sports or multiple positions, it's extremely helpful in preventing a lot of baseball injuries and a lot of sports injuries. Remember, baseball's a big repetition sport, so how many times do you throw and throw and throw, swing and swing and swing? And you do that in whatever sport you're practicing, but if you can have seasons where you're either off or doing another sport with another type of body movement, it's going to go a long way to prevent current and also future injuries if you do succeed in baseball and go all the way to the top. So that's one of my big recommendations for all young athletes.
I coach Little League out in the East Bay, and I always have kids, coach, look at my this pitch, look at my that pitch, and I'm always like, hey, look, put something on it, be balanced, look at your target, don't tell me what you're throwing. I don't want to see these kids throw anything. But Dave, is there a magic age? Is it about growth? Some kids are late bloomers, some kids are fully grown or at a younger age. What age would you say curveballs, breaking balls, all that kind of stuff it would be okay in your mind?
Yeah, I wish we had that exact answer because, you mentioned kids develop at a different rate. Certain kids have a certain amount of strength. Other kids have better mechanics. And I think the biggest thing when I talk to youth groups is try to work on your mechanics more than trying to work on your pitches. They're so worried about throwing a curveball or a slider, and I get it. We're all competitive, but they do that before their mechanics are good. And I think that's the most important thing, trying to develop their strength and then work on their mechanics. And I agree with Dr. Sags here that, play other sports, develop your motor skills. Of course, we love everyone to be playing baseball, and we want future giants. But you need to develop your other skills. Give your arm a break if you're throwing a lot. Play some basketball. Do some other things. And I think that'll help you a lot.
How many Buster Posey fans do we have in here? A few? Probably a couple? Me, I'm always doing my prep for this stuff, and I got Buster on the main stage in an hour. One of the things that jumped out when I was reading about, going through his stuff, he played 4 sports in high school. Just speaking right to what Dave was just saying there. It wasn't baseball all the way through all year long. He played baseball, he played basketball, he played soccer, maybe football. I'm not sure what his 4th sport was, but, this is as good a player as there is in the game. He didn't just specialize at a young age. We have a lot of people here, before we get the players up here, who are never going to tear a rotator cuff and are never going to have Tommy John surgery. But there are a lot of people here that would like to stay in shape, myself included. Give them some ideas as far as diet, exercise, things that maybe they hadn't thought of before that you guys from being in the medical profession can give them some tips so they can be Giants fans with longevity?
Well, I think we, and in general health, in our regular practices, we see patients that are young athletes and patients that are seniors and beyond. And we preach activity and non-sedentary states for all of them. What you have to remember is, you know, we're used to seeing our heroes on TV and what they do, and you even see the shows about how they train and condition. Most of us can't do that. So if you've been on the couch all year and you want to start getting in shape, you can't just look up what one of our guys does and try to do that. So you need to kind of assess your status, your fitness. Hopefully you're pretty healthy, but if you do have health issues, discuss it with your physician so they can model the right program for you. And it should be balanced. It should be balanced not only physically with cardio activities and strength activities, but also the whole lifestyle should be balanced with a healthy diet, a healthy sleep pattern. And the easiest thing to say, the hardest thing to do is moderation of stress. But if you can master all those things, you'll be fit, you'll be healthy.
You guys want to add to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, start slow if you haven't done a bunch of stuff. I think nutrition, obviously, is a huge part of this. You know, with our busy lives, everybody's running around. It's easy to eat bad. So I think that's a great place to start as well. Lots of water. You know, we tend to not do that as much as we say we do. But just a good balanced diet. And that takes discipline. It's not easy. Everyone says they're going to go on a diet and do this, but if you can get a good balanced nutrition plan, that's a good first step to then leading into exercise.
And the other thing to be aware of is that, especially on weekend warriors, if a pain persists for any period of time, and make it a short period of time before you get a consultation about the source of that pain. Don't try to tough it out. It's the easiest way to do more damage. So get a professional opinion about what the source of the pain is and how to handle it.
You know, I got one last one before we bring the players up. And thank you guys for your time, by the way. The contracts in baseball in 2019 are huge. The investments in the guys that we're going to bring up here are sizable. These are big decisions. This is big business. And how much of, you know, in the medical field, you got to know, right? Do I invest in this guy? Do I invest in that guy? Is that information shared? Is there a general MLB database? Is it up to Dave to call his training friend with the Angels and say, hey, what do you know about this guy? How much due diligence, how much do you guys get utilized in the pursuit of, I don't know, a certain free agent here or there? We won't name any, but before the Giants make the investment?
Yeah, we've probably reviewed, I don't know, 80 to 100 free agents this year. Between our minor league staff, myself, our major league staff. I mean, we review all these guys, whether it's doing basic internet searches, looking up their injuries that way. But, of course, MLB has an injury tracking system that we have access to, and we can request to review anyone's records. So we do that a lot. And it's very time-consuming. It might take myself 2 to 4 hours to review one player, depending on how long he's been in the league and how much he's been injured. So it's a lengthy process. We put a lot of time and work into it. With all that said, trying to predict the future is really crazy. And we try and do the best we can with the information we have. And, again, we're always trying to get better at that. You know, and we ask around. We have a lot of scouts and different people that help us out as well.
How much of it is medical reports and how much of it is talking to other people around the medical profession with these different teams?
I mean, mostly for us, it's reading their records is the most important thing. I mean, what's in there is what they have. Of course, we have a great front office that does their homework on this. Our coaches help because they know other people in the game and get information. We use every source we can to try and get some background when possible.
You know, one of the things, we had Ron Wotus in studio with us yesterday for a few minutes, and I'm like, Ron, man, you're looking lean and mean. And he's like, yeah, you know, I worked out a lot this offseason. And then, you know, just in talking, he's like, you know, over the course of the baseball season, I put on like 20, 25 pounds. And I'm like, really? that seems like a lot to me.
He can eat.
He can put it away. He's a legendary eater. There's no restaurant thing.
He's our eating coach.
He's an eating coach. But how much that is a challenge. The game starts at 7:15. It doesn't end until midnight. On the road, you get the bus back to the hotel. You're one of these guys. You're rolling in. It's 12:30. You're starving. You haven't eaten since 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but you're going to go to bed in a half hour. So that's a challenge for these guys, and it's almost like their schedule for the fans is not conducive to their schedule for their bodies.
Don't let Ron fool you. They eat before they leave to get on the bus.
Right.
Because the price of food's a lot cheaper in the visiting locker room.
Might as well let Larry pay for it,
Absolutely,
right?
no question about it. But that is a problem because you are very hungry at an unusual time of night.
Yeah, and it's not good it's not good to eat late at night.
Doesn't help your sleeping pattern either.
Hey, let's give it up for these guys. Dave Greshner, Dr. Bob Murray, Dr. Tony Saglambeni. Gentlemen, thanks. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Hope I didn't ask any too good ones. All right. That was just the teaser. Now we got the main event. All right, we've got I believe we've got Evan Longoria, Jeff Samardzija, and Steven Duggar going to be making their way. Jeff, nice, good to meet you. Steven, good to meet you. Evan, good to see you again. Take a seat. I think there's mics. There might be a couple mics. Get out of the way here. Let's give it up. Well, we'll start with an easy one. Anybody have an eventful off season? How's your off season gone?
Busy, yeah, really busy. Stayed here all off season and enjoyed the weather. Drought, huh? Out here.
Yeah.
Not this winter, so it was good. Had another kid. Been really busy.
Good. Steven, were you here? Or are you a South Carolina guy? Where are you in the off season?
I was back in Charleston for a couple weeks, but then I was back in Arizona rehabbing. So pretty short off season for me. But
how about you, Evan? Where are you in the off season? You Florida or?
No, Scottsdale.
Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Scottsdale.
So it's been a beautiful winter there.
Yeah.
And happy to get to stay home for spring. So, looking forward to it.
Now, you guys look pretty in good shape. I mean, is this something that it's a year-round thing, or do you literally shut it down? I mean, I got to imagine baseball every day between mid-February and, October, you're by the time the season ends, you're pretty beat up, probably need a few weeks to maybe not do anything. Do you guys shut it down, or is that a bad idea for baseball players?
Yeah, I mean, depends on your age, I think.
Okay.
A guy like Dougie could probably shut it down for 3 months and
Right.
bounce right back. So, the older you get, the more time you have to put towards prep time, stretch, and all the little things. So there's really not too much downtime anymore, especially with the way sports are going, with how specialized everything is. And, everybody kind of uses their off season for the right reasons, but mostly just kind of it's an extension of the season.
Fans, are going to get a chance to ask questions. We're going to pass the mics around. But all you guys have had some physical issues. Steven, let's start with you. You had a great little run going there at the end of the, toward later in the year, and going into second base, kind of an odd play, dislocate your shoulder. How's the shoulder? Are you a full go in Cactus, or is it kind of wait and see?
yeah, I mean, shoulder's doing well. Just kind of some progression type stuff that we're going through right now. But I feel great. Tackled everything head on, best foot forward, and we should be ready to go here shortly for sure.
How about you, Jeff? I know you had some, it was a pec or was it a shoulder? Do we ever get a definitive answer? Obviously you did. What ultimately was bothering you? Was it your pectoral? Was it your
Yeah,
shoulder?
I mean, the shoulder is a little bit of everything, so to try and knock it down just to one thing it's so interconnected, and it's a very interesting joint now that I've spent a lot of time getting to know it and figure out how to improve it. And there's just a lot of inflammation I had going on that the time that it happened, it was just tough to, get a quick turnaround going and get back going into the season. So we just kind of always felt like we were behind the eight ball with that inflammation. We'd get it down, we'd get the workload up, and then the inflammation would come back. And as a pitcher, you can be injured and not feel good in pretty much any part of your body. Your knee can feel terrible, your oblique, but if that thing's not feeling great, 95, 100%, it's tough to go out there and do what you want to do.
Yeah,
but feeling better now, and been rehabbing, throwing since Thanksgiving, so I'm full go.
I would imagine, over the course of 162, you probably don't feel 100% very often. Well, last one before we get to the fans. Evan, your injuries came in season. You had the hand, right? You got plunked in the hand, and that derailed you for a little bit. But you finished the season healthy. You're a full go in spring training, or did you have off-season maintenance procedures and that kind of thing?
No. I mean, I feel great. Obviously, when you break a bone, it's going to take some time to heal, and I tried to get back as quick as I could last year to at least get some games under my belt and feel pretty strong going into the off season. So like he touched on earlier, the older you get, you don't really have much downtime. So I took about 3 weeks to a month to kind of just chill, and then I've been working into it. So I feel really good going into spring.
Good. All right, let's get to questions from the audience. I know there's got a lot of hardcore Giants fans who really want to jump in here, and we have microphones being passed. Go ahead. Why don't we start with the lady in the back right there, or the gentleman in front of the lady in the back. Go ahead. It's kind of bright up here. Go ahead. Say your question
Romo,
loud and
stand
clear.
up.
Stand
No,
up. Stand
thank
up.
you. No,
Here we
I
go.
have my hand up, and I feel like I hit the lottery right now. I was like, no, that's not me. If I may, and that's just to ask, on Saturday, the 16th, is my daughter's 15th birthday. I'm going to have quinceañera for her in 2 Saturdays. She's standing right here to my left. I'm going to embarrass her, my wife.
Oh,
on the other
man,
side.
she's so embarrassed.
I got my whole family. Yeah.
Oh,
no, I brought my whole
I'm
family.
sorry.
Like 6 years coming now, every rain or shine, you know what I mean? And my youngest son, Frank, right there, Thursday, he just turned 9. If I could just may ask for a favor, if you guys could just tell them happy birthday for me, that would be great.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you, guys.
Happy
Thank you
birthday.
guys
Happy
so
birthday.
much.
Happy birthday.
And 9.
All right. You didn't ask for much. Just a happy birthday? I had guys yesterday on the show calling up, singing Klay Thompson happy birthday on the radio. Let's go to this enthusiastic Giants fan with the Giants. There's not a poem coming, is there?
No poem today,
all right,
but
all
a
right.
great
Just making
question for Jeff that I thought about last night. Jeff, what was your most memorable game at Notre Dame when you played college football? And my other question is, since you pitched in both the American and National Leagues, what do you think about the DH possibly coming to the National League? Are you for or against it? What's your viewpoints on it? No need to boo. What's your viewpoints on it? Because you've experienced both situations.
He's a terrible hitter. Have you ever seen him hit? He's terrible.
Makes the game go a little quicker, right?
Notre Dame
You
question
want to
first.
see him
Notre Dame.
hit?
Notre
First
Dame.
question.
Notre Dame.
Oh, there's a lot of them. It's a great experience, and the older I get, it's more fun to look back on it, and it happens so fast when you're there. But it's hard to beat a UCLA game, with the last second touchdown to win it. But that or playing anywhere down south is great. SEC schools, Tennessee, A&M, places like that are great. And the second part of your question, I'm on both sides of the fence here. The union side of me is okay with it if we can add a 26th player and expand the rosters a little bit and get a little bit more excitement in the game. But the other part of me is a traditionalist and likes that the managers have something to say in the game. In the AL, the managers are just kind of, just there. But in the NL, there is a little more strategy that goes with it, and it's funny. I mean, I know Evan likes everything vanilla and buttoned up, but I'm a little different. I like to see the guys swing. And you guys watch Cueto and Rich Hill face each other? I mean, that's entertainment at its finest. Everything doesn't have to be perfect all the time. So if that answers your question.
Something tells me of these three guys, Samardzija runs the best out pattern. That would be my guess. Man, I don't know. I probably shouldn't say that.
Dougie do well.
Duggar probably. You play football? Did you play football growing up?
I did in high school until I got rocked, and I was like,
that was it. That was
same
it.
for me.
That was it. Let's go right here in the front. Yeah, you right there. You had your hand. There we go. By the way, it's a good day to be inside. Huh? You can hear the rain pelting on the tent. This guy's got a speech. Oh, you're videoing it.
Yep.
Bob Costas, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So my question is for you, Evan. I read a little bit about that Instagram post you had about the free agency the slow free agency market, and I'm definitely with you in a way. It's frustrating for us fans. We're all just laying around, just waiting for stuff to happen. I just found it interesting that you made that comment, considering the fact that you've never experienced free agency. So I was just curious to know, like, what was kind of the basis for that, argument that you had.
Sorry to cut you off, but the basis is I have a lot of friends who are unsigned. I mean, let's be honest, and I also have heard from a lot of guys that it's free agency is no fun. So I don't regret not going to free agency. I think my decision was pretty good. But we as an organization here are really lucky, right? Like, this organization spends money. We're never gonna have to worry about them not trying to put the best product on the field. But I think as players, the fear is that there's other organizations that don't care about that, that are intentionally tanking, that don't want to sign players because they either want to have a better draft pick or they're just going to go out there and pay somebody less money instead of going to try and pick somebody from the free agent pool. So, that's kind of the message from me is, like, obviously it's not about me. I mean, I don't care. But it's for players like Steven Duggar and, our younger players in our younger generation who are looking 2-3 years down the line going into free agency or arbitration and are in a tough spot right now.
Thank you.
This is a sport that did have collusion, and it was proven. And I don't want to ask you if you think the owners are colluding against the players, but there's been a lot of speculation that the relationship between the two sides is a little frosty right now, and that the players, there's a lot of distrust between the two sides. Anybody want to address where we're at as far as there hasn't been a work stoppage in baseball in a long time? Nobody here wants to see one, and I know you guys are included in that. Give me your perspective.
For me, it's competitive based, right? You just hope that the people up top are just as competitive as the fan base and as the players are. You see how intense the fans are when go to Dodger Stadium or the Dodgers come here. That's competition, that's caring. You see the players playing against each other, leaving it all out in the field, fighting, sweating, bleeding, and you just want that from them too. That's all. It's a little easier for them to get together and get on the same page when there's only 30 of them, and as opposed to however many active baseball players there are. So it's a little easier for them to rally together and have the same message and be on the same page. And we need to do the same thing as players: is take this seriously, take this as an eye opener of can't take things for granted. And although we're all doing very well and being paid very well, we need to make sure that the next generation of baseball players is also taken care of just as much as we are.
Disconcerting thing when you see this many free agents this soon before we're going to have Cactus League games in a few weeks, and there are a lot of really good players with big-time credentials who are out there right now. This gentleman right here with the white sweatshirt, why don't we get him a mic?
Let's get this man a mic.
Thank you. My name is Aaron Samuels. I'm from Berkeley. In my 9th year as a San Francisco Giants fan, so this is a question for you, Evan. I understand that you originally came from Tampa Bay. I looked it up online for the 2019 regular season. I found out that you're going up against your old guys. So how would it feel if you're how does it feel when baseball starts in April to be going up against the guys that you used to call family? And I'm still seeing of a possibility of a World Series matchup between San Francisco and Tampa Bay.
Man, you've got some kind of foresight.
I believe it's a 2-drink minimum here today, a 2-drink minimum.
I'm a Giant now, so that's, the least of my concern is, playing against them. But, to be honest, there's only a few guys on that team that I played with, so it's kind of a crazy thing that, only a couple years removed from being on that team, there's only a few guys that I played with left over there. So But you know, that was a good part of my past. You know, it was a place that was very kind to me, and so I'm sure it'll be an exciting experience.
We got another one here. Let's go, this lady right here in the front row. I'll get some people on that side. Believe me, I'll work it over there. Right here.
Hi, I was wondering, what would you guys do this season to improve your performance?
That's a good answer.
Yeah, that's stay healthy for sure is obviously one of them. But I think just the consistency part of it, you know. Boch and my teammates, obviously, they want to know if you're going to show up to the field every day and play. So I think just consistency and just putting your best foot forward and just let it ride.
Do you look at your game? Do you look at the season? How much self-scout do you do on yourself? Like, for example, for you, Steven, I was looking at some of the numbers last night. Your numbers ahead an account, behind an account are really, you know, dramatically different. So pitch selection early in the count, does that become something? Or do you say, you know what, I don't get into the how I did. That's all situational, and I'm not doing that self-scouting of what I did last year.
Yeah, there's a variety of factors, but I think, you know, in this league, these pitchers, they can get 2 strikes quickly, and they can put you away. So I think having a plan in place before the game to give you an opportunity to be successful throughout the game is important.
We got a couple other questions here. Let's go over there. This guy right here in the first. Let's go to the very enthusiastic guy who's been standing up. That guy. You. Let's get him a mic.
A question to all of you. Well, first up, thank you guys so much for being Giants. We love you guys here. And
Thank you.
We really appreciate the fact that you guys are a part of an amazing organization and you guys are making history. What has been your favorite moment over the past several seasons? Any of you? Sorry.
Well, for me, it was my when I got my first hit about 2.5 weeks into the season last year.
Yeah.
That was fun.
No, I had one more question. Can you all please sign my jersey? Come on.
All right, man.
Let's try to stay away from the autographs if we can, but go ahead.
Here, we'll
go
sign
ahead.
it for you, but
He'll sign it.
why
He'll
don't
sign
we somebody else ask a question while we're doing
as we're
this?
passing the mic around, a couple interesting things that I read about you guys in the last couple of days. Tell me if these are true things or Wikipedia gone mad. Your dad was a pro hockey player? Is that true?
Semi-pro. So
Semi-pro.
Semi-pro. He wishes, you know.
Okay.
But the defenseman that, you know, makes sure Wayne Gretzky doesn't get hit can only go so far.
He was the Marty McSorley of his neighborhood?
Yeah, he was definitely...
the goon?
Yeah, you could say that again.
Okay.
So
did you play any hockey growing up?
I didn't. He really wanted me to, but my hometown only had about one rink if it was cold enough for long enough. So it was... He was a little hard on me in hockey, so at a young age, I think I got turned off from it, so football was the natural path after hockey.
There you go, football and baseball. And then, Evan, I read that you're an avid drummer. Is that true?
A drunkard or a drummer?
No, I'm
you're an avid drunkard, yeah. Yeah, you're an avid drummer. Are you a drummer? You
no,
ever?
I mean, I've played the drums in the past, but I wouldn't call myself an avid drummer.
Okay. And did you had a restaurant going? Is the restaurant still going? No.
Still going,
Still
yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Duckies, is that what it is?
50-year Duckies, yeah.
Duckies.
It's a sports lounge in Tampa. So
There we go.
yeah.
If you're down in Tampa, check out Duckies. This young lady in the second row. Get a microphone for her. Decked out with your orange and black. Look at that.
Hi, guys. Baseball is a mental game, and one day you're up, the next day you're down. How do you handle the mental challenges of each game?
A short-term memory and forget about it as fast as possible. It's funny, the ups can actually have more of a negative effect on you than the downs. I think you kind of get used to the downs in baseball and understand it's not always going to go your way. It's a little easier to keep fighting and using it to give you energy and excitement to go forward. But it's kind of easy to get into a lull and kind of get complacent when things are going great because you want to take that deep breath because you grind so much all the time. So it's always nice to get into that situation of it going your way. So short-term memory and just move on to the next day. It's honestly the best thing you can have is just forget about everything that's happened in the past and look towards today.
This lady right here in the gray. You just go ahead. That's a good question. Question was, what did you like most about San Francisco?
The food for me.
Oh man, there's a lot. I tell you what, living here for the past 2.5 years, coming from Chicago, which also is a very much outdoor, lively city. You know, people are always working out and running and hiking and things like that. There's a lot of passion in the city, which I love about being here. And people are happy to be here. It seems like, you know, people aren't looking to be somewhere else or do this or that. They're happy to be here.
They're from somewhere else most of the time.
They are from somewhere else, yeah.
But they're happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
Steven, how about you? Anything jump out at you last summer?
I'd say the food too. I mean, I've only been up here a couple months, but I like to eat. So
yeah, there you go.
There's a lot of good spots around here for sure.
Gentleman with the orange sleeve back there, Giants hat right there with the glasses. Yep, you. Yeah, there you go. No, you. That's it.
Hi, guys. I just had a question from a perspective as an employee of Major League or Minor League Baseball. What makes one club better for you, and what are the perks that you like most when you go to one club versus the other?
I mean, you hear guys say like an organization is a first-class organization. I mean, I think what that means is just like from the time you get to the ballpark, the way that the employees treat you, you know, the clubhouse, the staff, the way you travel, you know, the buses, the planes, the hotels you stay in, all of that stuff factors in. And there are teams, you know, I've only played for 2, but I've heard a lot of other stories from other players when they come here about how one organization does it versus the other. And this is really, truly a first-class organization. So we're lucky to be here, and I think that's kind of what makes the difference is just all of those things, you know, lumped into one.
We got another one in the back there. The gentleman right in the front row. The beard, the Giants hat.
So if management came down and took a survey from all the players on a yes or no for moving the wall in on Triples Alley, what would your answers be?
No, yes, yes. That would be
That's what I was kind of figuring. Nothing, we get silence. Nobody wants to.
I mean, I like weird ballparks. You know, I liked when Houston had a hill and a flagpole in the middle of it. You know, I mean, I like Boston. You know, with 290 down the line. I think it's all cool. I mean, I wouldn't mind if they would change it as the season goes on. See what would be the most fun. Bring it in for a while. Bring it out. They're not scared with tearing up the field by having Jason Aldean play some terrible concert out there, so why not move around the fences while we're at it, huh?
No offense to Jason Aldean or his
there
fans.
was a fence there towards Jason Aldean.
Yeah. Jason, if you're here, we apologize. Yeah, but how about you guys? Evan, were you AT&T'd at any point last year where you hit one and you're like, it's out of here, and it wasn't out of here?
Yeah, I mean, they could keep Triples Alley where it is, just move the rest of the fences in. That's fine. They can keep that one there. I don't really hit it out there. But no, I mean, again, it goes back to my comments earlier about offense. I think fans more so want to see offense than defense. I mean, I know the pitchers don't want to hear that, but this is a tough place to play. And it's not only because the fences are far, it's because the weather's cold and the wind blows in. And there's a lot of other factors that go into this ballpark playing as big as it does.
You guys are two of the better defenders at your spots in the league. Do you road home, is it a big difference? The wind swirling in center field, pop-ups at third. Is this a tough park to play defense in from your guys' perspective?
I'd say there was an adjustment period for sure when I first came up. I mean, the wind's real. It's a real factor. I mean, the flags behind the home plate are blowing straight out, and then the one right behind, in the cove is blowing straight in. So there was definitely an adjustment period playing here, especially in Triples Alley. It's definitely a challenge in itself, but something that I look forward to every day when we come up to the park for sure.
How about you, Evan? Pop-ups at AT&T, is it a mystery, or is it Is it much more difficult than other parks around the league?
Pop-ups aren't. I mean, usually when they're in the infield, they're not swirling as much. The sinking line drives and the ones that are hitting the gap are a lot tougher for the outfielders. But it is a tough place to play defense for sure.
Maybe some people over here. How about this gentleman with the white Giants hat?
Thank you, Larry. What do you guys feel about pace of play in baseball? Because whenever I come to games, I'm never really wondering, man, I really wish these guys would wrap things up faster, even over the last couple of years. So just curious if you guys feel about pace of play.
Honestly, I feel like that. I wish they just leave it up to you guys to tell you the truth, because I don't really feel like as players anybody is too. You're so into the game and what's happened, what's going to happen, how am I prepared. You're not really looking at the clock too much. So really it's whatever makes you guys the happiest. If you don't mind hanging around for 3.5 hours, we don't either. But honestly, it's not. I know some guys take a long time, and obviously playing defense, that would make me really mad too. So I've always taught as a young guy that pace gets outs. The quicker you go, the faster they get out. It just helps the game flow and keeps everyone into it. So obviously I'd like the game to speed up, but I don't think that's for really the players to call, because we're making a lot of money from commercials and the breaks that come in between the innings, and so I don't know where these owners feel like they would get where else they'd get the money from and this and that, and I don't know. It's a really tough question because there isn't one finite answer that makes everybody happy. So for me, it's more of just a question of what the fans want, because it doesn't really affect us all that much. Unless you take 35 seconds to throw each pitch, in which case nobody wants that.
And Ryan Vogelsong is now retired, so that we don't have to worry about that.
Did he take a long time?
Oh, Vogie was all day.
I mean, to continue on Jeff's point, the pace of play has gotten longer, but also the breaks in between innings have gotten longer because of commercials. So that's really, I think, where we've added a lot of time. And again, that money is going directly into owners' pockets because they're taking, $300 million a year from TV deals, and they keep adding 5 seconds onto every commercial break. And now we have 3-minute commercial breaks in between every inning instead of, 30 seconds to a minute or whatever it was in 1950, because they didn't have, there wasn't a lot of TV then. So, that's why the game has gotten longer, in my opinion. And, I don't really think there's a way to fix that because it's all revenue dollars,
I would have thought this question would have come up by now. Since we only have a few more minutes left, I'll throw it out myself. I picked up my Chronicle today. John Shea's in the house over there, so I got to give John the Chronicle. So here it is. This is the real green sheet. I paid money for it. I got my Chronicle on the front page. There's a mutual interest Giants in Bryce Harper. You heard that. It's out there. Do you guys know Bryce? And when you hear there's mutual interest in a player of that magnitude in your club at this point with spring training starting in days, give me your reaction. What do you think?
I mean, rumors are rumors. Yeah. I mean, being on the trade block and amongst rumors myself, I know that they seldomly carry weight. So it seems like Bryce is probably needing his market to grow a little bit more. So he invited a couple more teams out to talk about it and try to get some people competing. But I don't know. It's so different now with guys signing so late. These guys would have been signed come winter meetings 5 years ago, and then moving on to the next tier of free agents. So I think a lot of the players are just kind of right now in a sit back and watch mode because it's such an odd offseason along with last offseason. So hopefully these guys get signed, and obviously you want to improve your team, and you always will take a Bryce Harper on your team, always 100%. Anything like that, Machado, any of those guys. So we'll see what happens. But again, rumors are rumors.
How about you, Evan? You've been around the block. What do you when you see that as a hitter in that lineup? Does that excite you, or do you say, you know what? As Jeff just said, there's a lot of talk, and it's kind of uncharted territory for everybody. You guys, the fans, the clubs. We've never had free agents of this ilk still available at this point in the schedule.
I mean, yeah, we'll take him in our lineup. Like Jeff said, if he comes here, we'll be happy. And that's simple as that.
Steve, you got a comment, or you want to pass on that one?
It'd be fun to play with him for sure. So
all right.
We'll see what happens.
Let's get this person in the first row. This guy right here with the Giants hat and the glasses and the beard. Right here. Stand up, sir. There you go.
Yes, sir. This is for Steven. Couple of questions. When you came up last year, Mike Krukow referred to you as the doubles machine. And you showed us that you were indeed a doubles machine, and you had great stats in the minors on doubles. I was wondering if that's something that you worked on, that you really wanted to be a doubles machine and did some stuff to do that. And then we have Longo, we have the Shark here. Do you have a nickname? I've been calling you the Doug.
I like the Doug.
Wait, what were you calling him again?
The Doug.
The Doug.
Short for dugout.
Short for Duggar.
I see you working. I see you working.
No, I think consistency has just been I've been so driven by just trying to be, just be consistent. And I think the doubles just happened, I think my speed, gives me an opportunity to have a double. So that's about it. I mean, some of it's placement, some of it's not. So just kind of got lucky.
The nickname.
Let's go to this gentleman in the back row.
His nickname's Dougie. Dougie.
Dougie?
Dougie.
When you're a rookie, you just gotta wear whatever nickname they give you, I guess, huh? Let's go, gentleman in the back row right there in the gray giant hat.
It's for Jeff and Evan. Being fans and having a different perspective, and you guys being players and being on the field, and you guys being all-stars and at your guys' position, how do you guys feel about Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens not being voted into the Hall of Fame yet?
I'm not going to touch that one.
Okay.
It's a hot topic here. I'll say it. They should be in. They should be in. All I would say to the writers, handicap it. Handicap all of it. Don't handicap part of it. Handicap all of it. And then those two guys would be in.
I got to agree because
that-
we have a lot of riders who've never played the sport, or they're just riders. They may not even be fans, and they have them voting. That's the only reason I'm asking.
The answer that I always give when I answer that question is if you want to have anybody else like that in the Hall of Fame, you have to let Pete Rose in first. So, for me, that's a simple answer. Without talking about anybody else. I mean, Pete Rose.
You got to determine, is it for on-field play, and that's it? Is that all that matters? You know what I mean? Again, we don't vote. The writers do, so they need to determine, what do they value? Are they just valuing the person that he was on the field, and is that guy getting into the Hall of Fame, or are we taking the man into account, the whole story? So it's a tough question for sure, but Barry is a little easier, I think, because of who he was before, the help. So, he was an amazing player. So he would have gotten in regardless. And Roger, I'm not quite sure about his career and how it was early on as opposed to late.
It's pretty spectacular. One of the debates around the game right now is shifting. We've seen the shifts. It's dramatically changed the game. Evans playing shortstop a lot, and so are third baseman all around the league. Are you guys, now there's been some discussion, maybe they should limit the shifting. It's taking scoring out of the game. Everybody loves scoring. Are you pro shifting? Do you not like shifting?
But we can talk about pace of play at the same time then too, while we're running the third baseman into short right.
Exactly.
With one strike and then back with two strikes.
Right.
I don't know.
You're not a fan of you're not a fan of the shifts.
I like baseball,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What do you think, Evan? You've been playing infield in the big leagues for a while. I mean, you like the shifts? It's a totally new era. We've seen it really in 3 years.
I hate them.
Really?
I get paid to play third base. I'm but not a good shortstop, and I'm not good on the other side of the infield. So, and it takes a lot of hits away. It does. I mean, the game changed, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, when everybody started getting shifted. So, but I don't think it's going to change. To be honest with you, I think it's going to be impossible to make teams not do it.
Yeah. It sucks for the fans. You see a guy hit a rocket, tremendous bat speed, rocket to right center, and here's a second baseman in the middle of right field, short hops it and throws the guy out at first. That's a hit. I mean, that should be Tony Gwynn. That was a hit for Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I also just heard this gentleman right here say, just learn to hit it the other way.
Yeah.
And if it was that easy, trust me, we'd all do it. I try, but when the guy's throwing 98 with sink, it's just not that easy to do. Trust me, I tried for about 2 months last year, and I couldn't hit the ball.
Yeah. That kid for the Cardinals who throws like 106. Yeah, just flip that the other way. No problem. Anybody else? We got a few more questions. We got about 5 more minutes for questions. How about the way in the back there? Yep. We have 2 of you. We'll go 1 and 2. Go ahead.
This is for Evan. You've been a little vocal about this. What do you think? Are you optimistic about a CBA getting reached in 2021?
Yeah. Nobody, like he said, nobody wants to stop playing baseball. We don't want to sit at home during this time of year. And there's a lot of work I think that can be done in the meantime to make things better. So yeah, I mean the simple answer is I think as a whole we're all. Nobody's thinking about striking. Nobody's planning on striking. I think we're all planning on trying to work through these issues in the 2 years leading up to it.
And right next to him out there, the Giants hat.
All this talk coming up again about the DH coming to the National League. I mean, what are you guys feeling about that? I don't want to see it, and I know a lot of Giant fans don't want to see it. We like seeing Bum get his hacks and Jeff get his hacks in.
Someone up on the panel said that I was a terrible hitter earlier, so. I can hit the ball the right side, though. I promise you that much.
Oh, man. I mean.
What was the question? Again, I think it comes down to what type of baseball fan are you? Are you so then you're going to like it. Are you a millennial? Then you're going to want the DH in there. So, you guys are going to figure that amongst yourselves, Obviously, we have guys, I think we would be cool with it either way. I mean, honestly, players aren't in the locker room yelling at each other about whether we want a DH or not. We just kind of want to stop talking about it, tell you the truth. Kind of like pace of play. It's all of these things that really have nothing to do with the game itself, and that's what we love to talk about is the strategy of the game. How do you get Goldschmidt out and things like that? When our time is wasted with talking about what we're wrapping the present in, it sucks. So obviously, whatever it is, let's get it figured out, and we can all get on the same page from there. But doesn't matter.
I also think too, if that's the question, then do we still have interleague play? Because that's what I hate to see is when I was playing in the American League, all I would worry about was the pitchers getting hurt because they don't do it, until we play interleague play, and then they're trying to hit and they haven't, you see guys getting hurt running the bases and swinging a bat, and there's just, do we eliminate interleague play? Do we, say we're gonna play, everybody's we're gonna eliminate the designated hitter and let everybody, let the pitchers hit for a month or what? There's a lot of things that could happen, but. I don't know. Again, it goes back to what he said. What do you guys want to see? That's all we care about.
Yeah, I was listening to Kevin Youkilis with Tolbert yesterday, and he was arguing that one thing he wants to see in baseball is he wants to see the balanced schedule come back for the equity of who's making it to October every year. I hear that, but I like Giants-Dodgers 18 times a year. How do you guys feel? Are you more of a proponent of, if you play 18 times a year, you get a real division winner, but then you also could wind up with what we had last year with, some team with a lot of wins going on the road as a wild card. I mean, how do you feel about the balanced versus the unbalanced?
Yeah, I mean, I like when it's just East-West, AL, NL. Everybody plays, a total amount with X amount of playoff slots, not to divisions. I think divisions are a little out of date, and maybe we're, for travel purposes, 60 years ago, kept it nice and easy to keep people close, but you can still have a balanced schedule but still keep the rivals playing each other a lot, I think. I think there's ways to go about it where we could still play the Dodgers 16 times a year with maybe working the schedule around to keep it a little more competitively balanced if they end up doing something with the DH or not. But definitely I'm with you with keeping the rival games no matter what, but it's not bad when teams, I think, when you mix things up and play different teams, see different guys, because right now it's once every 3 years we get to see the other divisions in the other league, which isn't that often.
How about you guys? You got a thought on balance versus unbalance? You like the way it is, or you want to see, maybe a more even, deal to get into the playoffs in October?
I mean, while we're at it, we should just add 2 more major league teams and then add 16 teams to the playoffs, and then we'll have more major league players and, we'll have more excitement in the playoffs, And that's an honest answer. I'm not being funny about it. I mean, pretty much every other major sports organization has way more playoff teams, which keeps the fan base more motivated throughout a longer year, and then 2 more, professional teams. So, I love competitive balance, and I think it would give opportunities for other organizations that, maybe in that middle tier of teams to compete for a playoff spot.
Hey, let's finish with this. We haven't really talked that much about the race. I mean, we don't even know who's going to be on what teams. It almost seems crazy to even ask questions about that stuff. But you guys, nobody knows the race and the battle and the who's going to win, who's going to lose better than these guys, the guys who are actually the players. So give me your perspective on your guys' chances this year. I know Vegas doesn't think you have great chances, but there's a lot of player movement still to come. How do you feel about going into 2019? Any of you?
I'm excited. I'll tell you what, with some opportunities out there to add a couple more guys and seeing what's going on within the division, I think it'd be smart to try and pounce on it now. I think you see where the direction Arizona's going. Colorado's a heck of a ball club, but they stayed stagnant. LA's still doing what they do, but even outside of Pollock, they've stayed relatively stagnant themselves. So I think it's a great time to pounce on a market that it seems buyer-friendly and add a piece here or two, and let's make this run that we all want to make and everybody wants to see.
Yeah, I think that's well said. You guys want to add to that at all before we get out of here?
I just think we have a really good team. I mean, I do. I mean, we were 5 games out at the end of August. I mean, we were right there. I mean, anything could have happened. We could have went on a streak. I mean, we were playing good baseball. With a lot of these guys back, some guys coming back healthy, we're ready to roll for sure.
That's a good point. The record didn't look great. A lot of that was a really bad September where it was 4 or 5 wins in the whole month. Evan, you got a quick thought on 2019 before we say goodbye?
No, I mean, I'm excited. Listen, we lost, probably 10 big pieces at any given point last year during the season. So I think having all those guys back healthy and like Shark said, there's still some really good pieces out there that, I know that Farhan and Boch and, the front office is looking at and really, hoping to add some more to our club. So there's, I think, still some big moves to be made. And even if they don't, I think we're all excited about the team that we have and believe that we can win.
Let's give it up. 3 of your favorite Giants: Evan Longoria, Steven Duggar, Jeff Samardzija. Thanks, guys.
Oakland alone. I feel the rain crashing down. All around this empty town, I'm searching for the lost and found. But you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air, like a blazing flare. Just stare, 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Giants fans, how are we doing today? Hey, Murph, I feel like this is where all the smart people are hanging out, as opposed to, I mean, man, it is cold, it is rainy, but again, the turnout today is really impressive. How about a round of applause for yourselves? Giant fans, give it up. Really great seeing everybody.
This is definitely the high IQ tent, because we were out there at the Q&A, at the Amici's broadcast stage, freezing rain. You guys are high IQ, high IQ. So in case you don't know, Brian Murphy, Paul McCaffrey, the Murphy
Hey
Mac
now.
Show on
Yeah.
KBR 680. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't tuned in, feel free. It's free in your car. We love doing FanFest every year. It gets us psyched up. Paulie, we'll be in Scottsdale 2 weeks from Monday.
Yeah, and it's good to talk. You know, we just came from a stage where we talked to Chris Shaw, Joe Panic, Brandon Crawford, and you know, Chris was saying, hey, I got a few autograph stands to do here today, and then he goes, I'm getting on a plane. He'll be in Scottsdale today, so we are very close, Murph.
So let's ramp it up. But this is the Dignity Health tent. So we're going to get the Dignity Health Q&A session going on to learn a little bit about, of course, the real reason these guys stay on the field, the doctors who keep them on the field. This session is sponsored by Dignity Health, the official healthcare provider of the Giants. You guys know Dignity Health has hospitals and clinics across the country. And right here in the Bay Area, they include St. Mary's, where I go for my doctor, St. Francis Memorial Hospital in San Francisco, Sequoia Hospital in Redwood City, Dominican Hospital in Santa Cruz, as well as the clinic right here on the Port Walk, actually. So let's welcome them up, Paulie. Let's bring up the superstars. This guy, you want to talk OG. Big round of applause for Dignity Health, Dr. Bob Murray.
Dr. Bob.
Dr. Bob needs a bigger round of applause, yeah. This guy is the real deal. Giants head trainer Dave Greshner. And Dr. Tony Saglimbeni. I said that right, Saglimbeni. I'm half Italian. So guys, let's do it. Let's break it down. You've done this every year, but there's people out here who don't know the conditioning that it requires in baseball to be ready to go. So when it comes to treating arms, what's the first thing you tell Giants pitchers about keeping the arm fresh?
David.
You say Gresh?
That's the first thing I say.
Gresh, how do you get... So seriously, what are like some of those basic things you guys talk about when you get together in Scottsdale?
Well, really, it starts way before Scottsdale. It's back in November 1st. They start working out, and arm care is huge for our pitchers. First, they need to rest and recover after the season, and then start slow, rotator cuffs, scap exercises, general conditioning to try and get these guys back going. But for our pitchers, arm care, arm health is their number one priority, and there's a lot that goes into it. Not only them working out, doing some weights, but hands-on manual therapy with our staff, taking care of their bodies, nutrition-wise. So there's a ton that goes into it.
Well, it sounds good. November 1, I mean, we all think of pitchers and catchers reporting, but they've done months of work prior to that. Dr. Bob and Dr. Tony, there's a lot of kids or parents of youth athletes out here, and you know, we get to the really broad questions of, you know, how much use or how much baseball should you know, a kid under the age of, I don't know, say the end of the age of 16, do you guys recommend year-round use of the arm, or do you guys recommend, sort of limited progress, or what's the general feeling you guys feel about the way kids are training for baseball these days? Dr. Tony.
Sure. That's a great question. Under the age of 16, it's hard to really recommend specialization, and that means two things: specializing in only one sport and also in one position, like pitching. Young kids should probably use their whole body in many different ways, play multiple sports, take seasons off from their main sport, or even seasons off from sport in general, recover. But we do not want to discourage activity and sports participation. We just want to try to not specialize at that early age.
It's interesting. I'm thinking back to last year. My question will be about prevention and how you keep your body intact. I believe it was the beginning of last year when Samardzija was initially kind of diagnosed with a pectoral injury, and then I think there was also some shoulder problems involved. But that particular injury, the pectoral, is something that can affect any athlete so very much. And in terms of prevention, I mean, you can stretch your hamstrings, you can help your back with stretching. But what can you do to prevent any kind of injury to the pectoral muscles?
Well, I think there's multiple factors with any particular muscle you ask about. The pectoral muscle, it does play a role in the shoulder girdle. And so really, though, what I would say to any injury is you need to analyze the mechanics, the use or overuse, and also make sure that every part of what we call the kinetic chain is in good shape. And that's, of course, you mentioned the pectoral, but it starts far away from that region with the legs and the hips and the back and the core, and it goes up into the arm area where you start to get close to the pectoral. It's really a complex thing to say, how do you prevent a pectoral injury? But the whole body needs to be fit, and that also applies to the off season and the rest that comes first, and then the way they ramp up.
Dr. Bob, your turn. What are some of the most common injuries you see out there, and what do you recommend in terms of preventing for young baseball players?
Well, first of all, position-wise, the pitchers primarily are the shoulder and the elbow, obviously, and sometimes something as simple as the finger. I mean, they watch their fingernails and keep them short, if you will. So there's a variety of things on pitchers that we watch very closely. On position players, you're looking more towards the abs because they're swinging a lot, or the groin because they're taking off real quick. The ankles are another area of injury, especially when they're sliding into base, etc. And last but not least, all the way across the board are the concussions. I mean, we've had runs of concussions. And Dr. Sanklebeni can explain a little bit more about what he's doing with concussions down the peninsula, but it's pretty outstanding. And but that's one of the primary things even on the younger players these days. In a variety of sports, it's a factor.
Wow. Dr. Sanklebeni, what are you guys doing down the peninsula in terms of concussions?
Well, concussion's an extremely rapidly evolving science in medicine. And what we do today is different than what we did 5 years ago and 15 years ago, and I'm sure it's going to change some more. But my emphasis, our emphasis, and we do this with the Giants and all the organizations that are professional working in this field, is we try to do as much baseline analysis on our athletes so that we have reference points for when and if they do suffer an injury, because every concussion is different and everybody's baseline is different, whether it be their cognitive test, which refers to how the brain works, or some of the other functions like balance and agility. So we use some newer technologies to baseline everything, and then we have a protocol. You always hear about the protocol. He's in the protocol that helps us go through the steps on the return to make sure that all those aspects have recovered before we put them at risk. And these days, the recovery and the treatment of concussion is a lot more active than it might have been 5 or more years ago, where we dominated with rest. Now we have an active progression, but always at a low risk kind of activity.
I have a question for Dave regarding diet. And, it's interesting. Everybody's body and everybody's metabolism is different, right? So you can't just do a blanket kind of assessment for different athletes. I mean, I think everybody probably has their own needs and requirements and stuff. But when it comes to off-season, I know some guys, you know, they like to travel. Some guys like to unplug. Do you make recommendations or suggestions, considering how important diet is to your overall health and conditioning? I mean, do you kind of send the guys off and say, hey, keep an eye on, you know, whatever, your proteins, or keep an eye on your fat intake?
Paul, is that a Pablo Sandoval question?
This is
that
actually,
what that is?
you know what this is? No. This is actually a hidden, the subtext is, how do I stay in shape? No, but kind of like, is that something you have to deal with before the guys take off at the end of every year? Let them know, like, what to be mindful of diet-wise?
Sure, of course. Nutrition's a huge part. It's something we've gotten a bigger part of our system over the last 4 or 5 years. We have a nutritional consultant that works with our players, and she'll sit down with these guys and kind of go through a program before they leave for the winter. Honestly, more in the off season is a time for them to make some changes to their diet. In season's a tougher time to do that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of challenges in season when we're playing night games, day games, traveling on airplanes, hotels. It's really tough for these guys to stick to a great diet. It's a super challenge for us, but it's so important not only for their general health, but their recovery, to stay strong. We're trying to push nutrition in every aspect we can, because it's such a big way to stay healthy.
Think back to baseball when Boch was doing it in the spread after the game versus the spread now, right? I mean, probably gluten-free now, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things out there, you know, but we're trying to get our guys a good balanced diet. They need extra calories. They're playing 3 hours of baseball on top of their pregame stuff. They need to eat to stay strong. Not most of them aren't trying to lose weight. They're trying to keep weight on. We just heard Steven Duggar, how he loves food, and he needs to keep weight on. So we're not trying to lose weight there, but it's a challenge, you know, and so we deal with more of that than trying to lose weight.
For Bruce, we highly recommend a glass of red wine after the game.
That's good medicine. Yeah.
Maybe two. Hey, on that, I just feel like as a youth baseball coach, I can't let you guys go. Last question about curveballs. It's the age-old question forever since, you know, should youth baseball pitchers throw curveballs, Dr. Bob? And if so, when? What's your recommendation?
No, what we've said is that when they're younger, they should just deal with fundamentals and getting the ball over the plate with a certain amount of speed, that sort of thing. Wait until the development comes, so 16 and beyond, start working with the curveball and whatever else they want to work with, but let the development of the shoulder, it's a very complex move, pitching, and so you have to let your strength and your growth occur before you do all that.
As a youth baseball coach, we can all say, I think, Dr. Bob, throwing strikes, very important to all you coaches in the dugouts, right? And Little League Diamonds everywhere. Anyway, give it up, everybody, for Dr. Bob Murray, Giants head trainer Dave Greshner, and Dr. Tony Saglameni. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Gresh. See you down in Scottsdale. You guys ready for some Giants baseball? Are they both here? Let's go with the big boy first. Paulie, you introduce number 15.
Well, listen, this is a guy we look forward to seeing every year. It's like, let's count the days until we see Bruce Bochy, ladies and gentlemen. Giant skipper, Bruce Bochy.
Boch, great seeing you. And we just did an hour with him, and we're going to do another hour with him. Let's watch the slick fielding, sweet swinging second baseman Joe Panic. Long time no see, Joe. All right. Take a seat, gentlemen. So we'll just ask a couple, and then this is you guys. You guys all ready to go? You guys ready to ask some questions? We got to start, Paulie, with Boch. So, I mean, come on. This is our guy. You know, Paulie has placed you on his list of coolest guys.
Like he's been waiting for this.
I have, man. Well, Murph's not lying, Bruce. So I have a kind of, it changes from time to time, but I do have a top 10 coolest guys of all time list. On that list, you'll see guys like Marlon Brando, Joe Perry from Aerosmith. One constant, though, this man right here, Bruce Bochy. Just, I'll tell you, man, you've been so good to the Murph and Mac show. You've been the right guy for this team for so many years now, and it's just always good to see the big fella, isn't it, everybody?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that comment. Thank you very much.
So, Bruce, how's the team going to be? Huh? You gonna win some games?
No. It's a great question. We're coming off a couple of years where it's obvious we're disappointed. I was listening to tail end of what Longo and Samardzija were saying. In fact, Duggar mentioned it that last year was a big improvement. It really was. We did hang in there, and that last month, that really made the season look horrible. We lost 15 out of 20 or 20 out of 25. I don't know what it was, but that's what made it look bad. But we hung in there despite so many guys getting banged up, including Joe. Bum getting hurt on the last day. I know it sounds like excuses. My point being, from 2 years ago, we wanted to make a lot of improvement. We felt like we did, and we're going in this year with some question marks. I think that's fair to say. I think you look at the outfield, but I will say we're passing a hat around. Trust me, before we leave here.
We'll take donations in a bit.
Yeah, my point is there's still I think some moves that will be made before the season starts. So let's wait and see.
Bruce, just wanted to ask you a personal question about yourself coming into another big league season. You've done so much. You had a great career as a player, very accomplished career as a skipper. But for you personally, just does the fire still burn as intensely as it did, say, 10 years ago?
Yeah, I assure you, I would not be here if that, if it wasn't there. And I try to remind them that I'm all in. I'm all in every year, and there's nothing. And there's something about when you've won and you think, gosh, I've accomplished, what I dreamed about, winning a World Series, and you get your 2 and 3. I'm hungry. I want to win another one, and that's how I feel.
So, Joe, you going to help him win another one?
Listen, that's the goal every year. And like Boch was saying, I think after the past couple of years, I think we have a lot of hungry guys, and young guys, old guys, everyone wants that feeling of parading down Market Street. It's a special feeling, and I think we have a lot of work to do, but I think we're up for the challenge.
A little bit on you before we throw it out there to everybody out there, but off season, you had to go heal up your body a little bit. Like Bruce was telling me, he got a new hip. I don't know if we had to go that far for you, but and Gresh was talking about you being banged up. So what did you have to take care of health-wise, and how ready are you for Scottsdale?
I'm ready to go. No, it was over the course of the year, you always little things here and there pop up, but again, you take a couple weeks off, heal up and whatnot, and I'm ready to go. I fixed a few things, strength and conditioning wise. I talked to you earlier about that. Working mobility, lateral movement type stuff, and again, I'm excited. Again, feeling good, feeling healthy. Made some changes, and like I said, ready to go.
Boch, you putting this guy at the 2 bag?
Well, hopefully not.
Bruce,
not
I said, Bruce, you putting this guy in, writing him in?
Yeah. That's why he's here. Yeah.
I can't play first base. I did, one time?
Yeah, what is your backup position, right? First base?
Well,
is that it?
I was a shortstop. I was going through the minors, but we got a guy there.
Yes,
But I think that's how injured we were last year.
Tell Crawford to watch out, right?
You have to love versatility. Left field, I'm thinking. So, yeah.
I could be a big hitting first baseman.
Well, Panda pitched, so anything's open, right?
So obviously, a lot of people here, Murph, would like to ask these fellas some questions. What I think we'll do today is we'll go section by section. So we're going to start all the way over here. We got a guy, if you want to stand up.
Here they come, Boch and Joe.
Tell the guys your
speaking.
name and what's your question.
All right, Boch, this is for you. So you're not the only 3-time championship coach in the Bay Area right now. Do you and Coach Kerr ever get together and compare championship rings?
He said, you and Steve Kerr are the only 3-title coaches in the Bay Area. Do you and Steve Kerr ever get together and compare rings?
I tell you what, I'd love to. He did come out last year, and he was going to come down to the clubhouse, and we ended up losing that game late, and he felt horrible. He didn't want to come down. I'm disappointed he didn't come down, so maybe we could compare rings. But I'd love to see his all his rings. He's got a bunch of them, but I know for myself and Joe, I tell you, there's nothing like having that ring, and I'd love to see his and really just compare notes. So we keep talking that we're going to do it. We haven't had a chance to do it yet.
Well, hey guys, the Warriors training camp starts in September. The season starts in October at a new building that you can almost see from here.
It's going to be awesome, isn't it?
So get used to it, guys. I think, Joe, you're going to increase your Warrior games pretty soon, all right? And you're going to increase the amount of Warriors that come here.
Hey, I would love that. I mean, bring them around. We'll go with them. You know, it's great talking to other athletes. Again, like Bo said, picking their brain, just getting to know them, go see how they go about their business. So it's always a good thing.
There's going to be a lot of Warrior Giant cross-pollination going on. All right, Paulie, what's next?
Guys, right in front here.
Love New Yorkers. New Yorker right here, and New Yorker right there. So my question is about New York. So what's it like to play in some people, I think San Francisco is better than New York personally, but I love New York. So what's it like to play when you go back to New York City in the Big Apple for the both of you? What's it like going back to the birthplace of the Giants, New York City?
This guy's a big New York guy. All right, yeah. Joe, that's your town, buddy.
Yeah, I love it. I love you know, playing in front of friends and family because you know we get to play there. Normally it's like 3 or 4 games a year. So, you know, everybody from old small town Hopewell Junction coming on down, taking a bus on down. You know, it's always fun. It's always fun going back there. Fortunately, I was after the 2014 World Series, I got to go to the old Polo Grounds site with with Larry Baer and whatnot. So it was pretty cool, you know, kind of seeing the birthplace of the Giants. But again, it's always fun going back there. But yeah, that's pretty much.
Well, Boch, you used to go to Old Shea Stadium too, right? I imagine the fans are a little different back there, probably, yeah.
Yeah, they are, and you know, there's a special place for me because that's where I made my debut in Major League Baseball. I was called up and got my first hit, my first home run at Shea Stadium, but
who was the pitcher?
Kevin Coble was the guy that I hit the home run of. Craig Swan was my first hit, and that you know, that's a time you'll never forget. But you know, it's such to me a great place to visit. It's one place my wife goes on that trip every time because she loves New York and all the things that it provides. But for us, it's like a home game because of the history of the Giants, and we go there and when you hear the chanting, and it really feels like a home game for us. And it's kind of eerie because then you realize, you know, we were the New York Giants, and you know you're seeing all these New York Giant hats up there, so it's kind of like you're seeing your grandfather or something, you know, or great grandfather.
Well, thanks to Finnerty's, Paulie, they do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Murph is reading my mind. How well does Brian Murphy know me?
I know you.
Before we go back to the crowd, Joe, from me to you as a New York guy, now they don't have Amici's in New York yet, Murph, but that could happen. But until that day, where's the best pizza in New York, Joe, or your favorite at least?
Oh, geez. Okay. I'm not going to even go in Manhattan. So I went to school at St. John's in Queens. Right. There was this place called Vincenzo's. They had Dollar Slice Wednesday. So as a college student, I mean,
I want it right now.
Based on the name alone, I'm interested. Vincenzo's. Now we have a question up front here, guys.
So this is for Bruce. Given that your contract expires this year, do you think this will be your last season with the Giants?
She come in like Tim Kawakami. She's coming in like Lowell Cone. I like it.
Yeah, you know what? We'll see. I'm really not thinking about that right now. To be honest, you know, my goal right now is to get this team ready, and you know, those things they'll work out. And you know, I'm just at this time, I'm not, you know, set to say anything or whatever. But you know, I love it here. I love what I'm doing. I love. Thank you. And it's just, I'm so lucky. And but you know what? It's a question that, you know, you get older, you're going to get asked a lot. You know, so and if the team doesn't do quite as well, you're going to get asked a lot too. So. You know, it's up to me to help get this turned around this year.
Well, just before the next question, I mean, you mentioned Steve Kerr. There's only 3 coaches in the history of Northern California with 3 championships: Steve Kerr, Bill Walsh, and Bruce Bochy. So it's a good stat, Boch. It's a good stat.
Hey, fellas, over here, we have a question right here.
Where are you, Paulie?
Right over here.
Oh, it's bright. We couldn't see. Sorry.
All right, I do have a question, but I just also want to put her on the spot, saying that my girlfriend here is a huge Joe Panic fan.
Thank you very much. How you doing?
The question, though, is about the strike zone. Last year, I would hear a lot of this debate about the strike zone, whether it should be governed by the umpire or go to an automated strike zone.
Good
What do you guys think?
question. So, Joe, should the automated strike zone, Robo ump, be the future of baseball?
Honestly, I don't think so. In this game, there's human error. There's human error by the players, human errors by umpires. Football, same thing. Referees, it's a game of human error. And yeah, we're not gonna be happy. I'm not happy when a strike's called when it's inches off the plate. But sometimes what they give ball it's on the plate and they call it a ball. So it goes both ways, and you never like it when it goes against you. But again, I'm not for that change. It's like I said, it's the human element of the game.
How about you, Boach? Given that you've made a career out of being mad at umpires, all right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have to leave something for a manager to to yell at. I mean, we have to have a reason to go out there and get on them. But I don't see it changing either. But I will say this, and I played, and I get it, and for players, calls can affect them. It really does. It can affect an at bat. It can affect their game sometimes. And Joe, you guys that come back and they get frustrated at a call, and it's hard to let go of it. That part would go. And that part I wouldn't mind leaving because it's the tough part of the game. But as Joe mentioned, hey, we all make mistakes. We're human, and so I don't see it changing.
Boach, before we go back to the crowd, a question from myself, which is just the state of the game, which is evolving and changing. The analytics, obviously, is a big part of the game these days. And the 3-batter minimum for pitchers. Just wondering how you feel about that and how that might affect your decisions out there.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I just don't. A big part of our success is the Javi Lopez and the Romos and the matchup, and I know sure the bullpens have slowed down the game a little bit, just like base running, base stealers, but that's an area I just don't see because you're going to take away a huge part of the game. I know for me, and I look back and. We don't win those championships without a Romo or Javi and getting those matchups that we needed. I still remember going in and playing the Phillies and having a Javi there for those big left-handed hitters, and I would miss it. I love that part of the game, the strategy part.
Thanks, Bruce. Here we go. Another question right here.
Hey, Bruce. So my question is, obviously, as you mentioned, the last couple seasons have been a little bit rougher for us. I'm sure you've been there many, many times, but I'm sure it doesn't get any easy. So I guess my question is, what activities or methods do you engage in to kind of help put baseball and put life in general in perspective?
No, that's a great question because this game can beat you up. It really can beat the players up, and and as a manager, I found out in this transition to managing, we wear it probably even more because the player, he goes back out there and he has to put it behind him, and our responsibility, head coaches or managers, is to help them get better or help the team. So you have to have ways to get away from it. And so I remind myself, I don't want whatever happens be my sense of significance, this field, on what happens on the field. If that's the case, then it's going to be tough on me. It's not life or death. We're doing something we love. And especially when you're in it, and what I mean, when you're in a postseason race and you lose a tough game, you need to appreciate that you're in it and you're in that game because the last 2 years we haven't been in it. So there's ways to remind yourself. And Dwayne Kuiper is probably the best for me because he sits right behind me on the bus. And if we lose 3 or 4 in a row, he has this subtle way of putting his left hand over the seat and showing me the World Series championship ring. And he says, "Skipper, don't forget it. We have a few of these," so that helps.
God bless Kipe. We love Kipe. Guys, we have another question right here.
Well, first, Boach, thanks for bringing us 3 world championships here to San Francisco. I look forward to seeing your plaque on the Wall of Fame. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the rotation for this year, the starting rotation. There's some talk that Derek Rodriguez and maybe Andrew Suarez might spend some time in the minors. You got Pomerantz, you got a healthy Samardzija, it looks like. What do you project for the rotation? And also, one question about the future. What do you think about the designated hitter possibility for the National League?
Real quick on the rotation. I mean, I can tell you this: Madison he'll lead things off. So now I'm in a tough situation because we have a lot of starting pitchers here, so they may be listening, whatever. But it's going to be competitive, and Kurt Young and I are talking now about how we're going to have this rotation set up. Now we would like to break up some left-handers because we have quite a few left-handers, as you know, with the possibility of being in this rotation. But we have 7 or even 8 possible starters. So it's going to be really competitive this spring, but it's going to give us some flexibility. Some guys can help out in the bullpen. We can freshen up guys by skipping a start or two. So I'd love to answer your question a little more direct, but I really can't there. As far as the DH, it would kill me for them to wipe out the DH, because if they did it, you're talking about there's no DH anywhere, because there's not in high school, college, and so it's been such a big part of my life, and obviously it's part of baseball, but my strategy, and I'd love to watch pitchers improve. I'd love how sometimes they make themselves pretty good hitters. Bumgarner, for example, but even a Suarez, who had no chance to get a bunt down early. He actually was getting to where he could handle, some pretty good pitching as far as getting a bunt down. So I don't want to. I like the difference in the leagues. I like the strategy. I think there's more on the plate for a manager when he has to deal with the double switches, and sometimes you're forced to take a pitcher out when you're a run or 2 behind with the pitcher coming up. All these things come into play.
Yeah, good stuff, Paulie, right over here. Just real quick, though, but you mentioned Bumgarner, and I was thinking we were talking about this with Chris Shaw and Brandon Crawford and Joe, and we were joking how Buster said yesterday to the reporters, nobody talks to Bum during the off season. I was wondering, Joe, if you lobbed him a text in the middle of the winter, would it just be ghost? Would he not even respond?
I think it would depend on what you ask him. If it was something maybe about, something about his farm or hunting, that might, get a response. But no, in all seriousness, he does his own thing. It's, he's out on the farm, he works, he does, again, it's Madison, so it's nothing personal. Again, it's, it'll just probably show up, if you have an iPhone, show up green. It probably just leaves his phone off. Who knows? Bosch probably talks to him, but who knows?
Bosch, you text him in the offseason?
A quick story on that. We texted during the winter meetings. I'll tell you what happened. Farhan had mentioned using an opener, and that's using a bullpen guy. And Madison, believe me, he watches everything. He reads everything. He knows what's going on. And he's in the Hickory, North Carolina, and I get this text. Well, if you use an opener in my game, I tell you, I'm walking right out of the ballpark. So I said, Madison, whoa, that's the quick. I said, it depends how you're pitching, whether I'm going to do that or not. I can't show you the next text.
That was good. Hey, guys, one over here.
Hey, Bruce, before my question, I think we all know the front office has been a little hamstring due to some of the contracts that have been taken on the last 3, 4, 5 years. That being said, we understand as a fan of the team that it makes it difficult for the players and for us to contend in the West, let alone competing for championships. But shoot, you should be coaching here as long as you want. This is a retool right now. I think these guys know it. But one thing that I would ask you is the last couple of seasons with the injuries to the starting rotation, you've really had to play around a lot with that bullpen and really mix and match, and you've been known as being one of the best at that. When we had it and we had starters going, doing quality starts, throwing 6-7 innings, you were great at it. But the last few years, you've had just to take more chances and more gambles over and over and over. And at times it seems like because of that, I mean, nobody can really make that many changes on the pitching in the game to bring in that many different relievers. And we have a guy that might go an inning, he pitches well. I look at Maranta that does it. Is there any thought on maybe letting those guys go a second inning when you have a short start? Because you're so good, and when you get that starter to go long, you can put your 3-4 guys in there. But when we get 4, 5, 6 guys in there, the chances of them all being on in that same game and not having a crooked inning thrown up against us, that really makes it tough for the team to compete. Have you thought about that and looked at what might be different and what might be able to help a team right now that's hamstrung on the hitting side?
That's a good long question, wasn't it? No, you know what? I'd like to have, I guess, nickel for every time somebody's asked me, have you thought of this? Because, and I love it. Trust me, it's a very good question, and you're making great points there. And every year is different. Every year is different with the staff. And, now teams, it's obvious the pins are playing a major role in even how you use them, how long you use them. And so the game is evolving to where, you're hoping to get that 5 or 6 innings. My philosophy is if my starters can give me 7 innings, I really like my chances. That was our success, and that's why I'll argue with a lot of the new wave stuff now that's going on with the pitching staffs. We won 3 championships when we had the Bumgardners, Lincecums, and Canes that got us deep in the game and kept that bullpen fresh. And hopefully I'm answering your question because I lost you a little bit there. But as far as our bullpen guys, we have guys who are comfortable going multiple innings, some aren't. So they're all different. And Kurt Young and I, trust me, we go in every game with a game plan on what we want to do, what we think we need to do. We have their usage, how much they've been warming up down the bullpen if they didn't get in the game. So, but I'm willing really to try anything with these guys to give us the best chance to win. I'm not set in stone on how I use my pitchers. I don't want anybody to ever think that. It's up to me to be creative. And I told Farhan that because he had mentioned the opener. And I just said, to me, it's up to us to get creative to give us the best chance to win that ball game. If that's the case, then I'm open-minded on that. I'm open-minded on anything, any suggestions like yours.
All right, good stuff. Paul, you're over there in the corner. What do you got?
Other side, fellas. Here we go. This young lady.
Hello. Oh. Hi. First off, my mom says hi. Second, my question is, outside of SF or your hometown, where's the most randomest place you've met a Giants fan?
So you said outside of
here and your
hometown. Where do you see the most?
No, like the most, like someone's approached you, like the most randomest, like Kansas or.
Well.
She said like random most unusual place you've run into Giant fans.
Yeah, I kind of, I'll start with this. I took a vacation to Europe. I'd never been there before. This was my second year here in 2008. And I'm in a little town, Montepulciano. I don't know if I'm saying it right. And we're staying at this little bed and breakfast. And I'm checking in, and the guy's got a Giants hat on. I go, well, he goes, no way, no way. He goes, and he ended up, he coached baseball in Italy, but he was a big Giants fan. So I was just stunned. And I realized just what a huge fan base we do have.
Maybe it was related to John Montefiusco. How about you, Joe? All your travels, anywhere random, a subway, I don't know, a Giants fan that came up to you?
Probably the most random one. So kind of like Boch, I was on a cruise in the Mediterranean Sea a couple of years ago, and I was at the casino, and a guy approached me, and I was like, he actually knew who I was. So I was pretty shocked and surprised by that. He ended up being from California, but that was probably the most random place Yeah, where
Joe's a
you-
quiet. Joe lays low. He's a quiet guy. He's like, how do you know me? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, everybody thinks. Well, used to think I look like Buster, but I mean, so.
You could have denied it. I'm not Joe Pan. All right, here we go. Down here.
Hey guys, I'm Ayush. This question is kind of broad, but let's say you're the commissioner of Major League Baseball for a day. What's your first move? You know, like so. I see Joe here. I've looked at his stats. He's like almost a 50% ground ball hitter. So like, do you want to ban the shift or just like any issue you'd like to talk about?
You know what? That's a great question. I haven't even thought about any type of rule changes because, you know, for me, pace of game, I think, you know, we had average of 3 hours last year. We went down from 2017. And, you know, I understand that they want to keep the games moving along, and there's certain things that players can do, you know, staying in the batter's box, pitchers from walking around the mound, whatnot. But I think we're in a good spot with the game. Don't change too much with it. I truly am a baseball purist. I don't want too much being changed. With the shifts, you know what? You know, I'm out there in right field sometimes playing, but you know, that's part of the game now. It's the analytical part where they tell me, you know, listen, you know, certain guys hit the ball in right field. Go play out there. Again, I'm the guy who keeps the game the way it is.
Boach, you get to make you have the powers to change anything.
I'm similar to Joe. I would back off on this change in the game. I will say the one rule that I liked was I thought it was getting out of hand were the visits to the mound. That's one because it was getting to a point. I mean, in the World Series when Houston and LA were playing, it was crazy. They had like 100 visits to the mound in Game 7. I was like, but that really, I'd leave it alone. I mean, it's a great game. Now, if there's something I think would help out is some of the travel. You know, I would mix in a few more days off. Somehow, I'd work out the schedule. Whether you start a little bit earlier, because there are days when these guys, trust me, it's a grind, and you know, we'll go cross country, and in certain situations we still have to play, and especially coming back our way. And I would stop that and rest these guys because it's going to enable me to play them more. You come to the ballpark to see the Posies and these guys. When they're not playing, you're going, what's Bochy doing? But, you know, these guys, you know, they need a break from some of this travel, so I try to improve that.
We have a couple more minutes left here, guys. Your chance at the Dignity Health Q&A stage to ask Joe Panik and Bruce Bochy anything you want. You guys are taking off for Scottsdale pretty soon, right, Bruce?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. And Joe, you'll be down there?
Yeah, I'll be down there in a couple days.
Yeah, man. It's getting it. Save all your answers because Paulie and I have a week of shows coming up in 2 weeks down there. So, hey, it's our good buddy Stefan. What's up, Stefan?
I have a question, Joe. How many times have you been mistaken for Buster Posey?
How many times? Oh, probably. I mean, it's still going on to this day. When fans actually realize it's not Buster, it kind of disappoints them. But still to this day. But as we get older, you know, Buster's getting, you know, a little more gray, and you know, he always makes fun of my nose is bigger than his. But you know, it's fun. But yeah, it's still happening to this day.
We have a young Giant fan right here, guys, in front.
For Panik, I would say, who is probably one of the favorite players to play against?
Favorite players as in, like, that's a good question.
Maybe who do you enjoy watching play the game? Is that what you're talking about, maybe? Or who's do you really want to beat their brains in, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I always enjoy, like, when, you know, as a hitter, you want to go up against the best pitcher, you know, whether that's, you know, somebody like Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, you know, Jake DeGrom, you know, all those guys, Aaron Nola. For me, those are the guys I most enjoy competing against. Is, you know, you want to always go out there and face the best because, you know, as a competitor, that's what you are. So I probably don't have one particular person per se to compete against, but I always enjoy the challenge of, you know, facing, you know, the other team's ace.
Speaking of other players, I know we have the last couple questions here. Boch, Yasiel Puig is out of the NL West. We just lost a lot of...
It's going to be boring, isn't it, playing the Dodgers?
Oh, it's going to be boring, right?
It's going to be boring, yeah. I know. Yeah, I'm disappointed, you know.
Bum's going to go to L.A. and say, where is he? Where did he go?
Hey, guys, we have another one right here.
This is for Boch. Hey, Boch. I just wanted to ask, one of my favorite stats is hitting with runners in scoring position, something we struggled with, as we know. But are there little things that can be done, either approach-wise, in spring training or batting practice as a team so that guys just, the approach can get a little better? Just wondering.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up because it's a stat that doesn't really get noticed in all the analytics. A lot of the, I call them propeller heads, they don't think that's a legit stat, hitting with runners in scoring position. But it is, and, it's, it's just having that determination, that desire to find a way to drive in that run. And it's a great stat, and it's what wins ball games for you. And we haven't been quite as good as we have been. That was one of our strengths, especially 2 outs, even 2 strikes. We found a way to get it done. And there are things. Alonzo Powell, who's our hitting coach, we've talked about this. Rick Shue, and I think something like that gets contagious. But it's what wins ball games for you. No question about it. Is getting those big RBI hits, and some guys just Cabrera with. Quick story, and I'll shorten it up, but Detroit had a great ball team with Cabrera and all those guys, and if you didn't get somebody on base, you go right through them. But once they got on base, they grew a foot taller, and those guys were so much more dangerous, and some hitters are. They thrive on it, and, Joe's a great guy to have with a guy in scoring position because, he's going to put the ball in play. He's going to make contact.
To your left, guys, we have time, just to let everybody know, we have time for about 2 more questions. So we'll do one right over here.
All right, first off, go Giants. And I'm wondering, with the loss of Hunter Pence in the dugout this year and how the big hype man that he was, who's going to be the new hype man this year?
There you go, Joe. Hunter Pence was a one-of-a-kind clubhouse guy, right? Texas Rangers signed him to a minor league deal.
Yeah, Hunter's presence will definitely be missed. I mean, as genuine as a person as you could ask for. I mean, good, bad, whatever. He always believed in himself. He always believed in his teammates, and we loved him for it, and he loved us. And again, you're never going to replace a guy like Hunter. Honestly, you're never going to replace somebody with his this personality, his persona. So as a group, we have to honestly just pick each other up the best we can. You don't want to see Buster going out there being, trying to be like Hunter. You don't want to see Crawford or Madison. You don't want those types of guys. Those guys lead by example. They go about their business, and as younger guys, you follow their lead. And as for guys that bring the energy to the park, I mean, it's up to us to bring it every day. It's up to, somebody like Pablo. Pablo's a fun guy. Somebody like Alan Hansen, who came up last year. He brought energy with his speed and just his personality. So it's going to be a collective group, all 25 guys.
Boch, you going to miss the Reverend? He was a one-of-a-kind, man.
He was. I mean, he's no question you're going to miss him. And, I know the Rangers will be excited when they see what he's about. And Joe said it right. We all got to pick it up. We're all different, but, there's ways that we can all help out and pick up that void that we're going to have. That with Hunter not there, he's such a positive guy too. You could have 4 or 5 of the worst games you've ever had, but you got Hunter right there picking you up. So that is an area that we're going to have to focus on, and it's a big part of the game. Having that camaraderie and that guys caring for each other and guys pulling for each other.
Nice, good answer, Boch. Here we go. We're going to do one more for Bruce and Joe.
Bruce, regarding the use of an opener, 2-part question, which I don't like the idea of it, but are you going to have the final say as opposed to Farhan telling you to use an opener? And does it concern you that the starters may feel like you don't trust them to face the top of the lineups?
Yeah, as far as the opener, I think with what happened last year, I think pitchers, they understand it a little bit more. It doesn't mean they like it. it's in a rare situation where you would think about it. And it's easier to do it in the American League. As far as who has a say, I mean, we collaborate, and I manage a club, and I've always made those decisions. But as I was talking about earlier, I'm open-minded, and if something I think is going to make sense and give us a chance to win, but Farhan is the president of our baseball operations now, and he's going to have some ideas, and it's up to me to listen and help him do what he wants to accomplish. But it's all about, this whole thing will be about us working together, everybody being unselfish and doing what they think is best for the club.
All right, this has been a really fun hour. We're wrapping it up here with Bruce Bochy and Joe Panik. We're not done just yet. We have to ask Bruce if Bryce Harper did a hair flip in his presence Monday in Las Vegas. He flips the hair back. Tell us, Bruce.
No, the hair was short, actually. It's a great meeting. I enjoyed my time with him, just getting a chance to know him even more. I met him at the All-Star games, and he reminded me that we met when he was 11 years old at the Murph in San Diego, Jack Murphy Stadium. He said, "Yeah, I came to the dugout and you shook my hand when I was 11, and I wish I could say, oh, I remember that. And I knew you would be a pretty good player." But no, it was great. He was good.
And then, obviously, this is going to be a very sad year for us because every time we come to the park, we'll think of Willie McCovey. Yeah, I know. Right, Charles? Right? And the man who built the park, Peter McGowan, and the man who hired you, I believe. So
Peter,
some thoughts on, we're not going to have Stretch anymore. And Peter, you want to talk about an impact, Joe and Bruce. This guy changed San Francisco. He changed history by building this park.
He did. I think you have to look at him, like a hero. That's how I look at him, at what he did here in San Francisco. And, this man was so good to me, instrumental in me coming up here. And what I loved about Peter, the last 2 years were tough on him, health-wise. And he'd find a way to come to the clubhouse, come to my office, and never complain about how he felt or anything, just wanted to talk baseball. And last spring, he came to spring training, and myself, Sabes, Larry Bear, and a few other coaches, we went to dinner, and he had the time of his life. He loved baseball. He loved the Giants, and he was so proud of the fact that he played such a critical role in them staying here. So I'm going to miss him. And Willie McCovey, we'll still think about it because we'll have his award, and that award means so much. And Frank Robinson was a guy I grew up loving because I was a Reds fan, and so it's a tough year for baseball.
But you're right, Peter. They always talk about Peter loved the fans. I once wrote as a fan a angry letter about something, and he wrote back a handwritten letter, and I was like, wow, this guy's the real deal. So, but he built this park for all of us guys, so we should always be thankful. Listen. Joe Panik is going down to Scottsdale to spray line drives gap to gap. This guy's going to put together winning lineups, and you all get to have baseball season. So thanks for having Dignity Health Q&A stage. See you guys in Scottsdale.
I want you to jump like you trying to get stuck in the air. If you feeling so lit and don't care, shorty beat in the face in the mirror, up in the air. I want you to jump, 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 jump. Up in the air, I want you to jump. Jump. Like you trying to get stuck in it. In the air. Like you trying to get stuck in the air. to get stuck in the air. If you feeling so lit and don't care, shorty beat in the face in the mirror, up in the air. I want you to jump like you trying to get stuck in the air. If you feeling so lit and don't care, shorty beat in the face in the mirror, up in the air. I want you to jump. Jump. I want you to jump, 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 jump. Up in the air, I want you to like you trying to get stuck in it. Gotta get it, in the air.
I ain't feeling lonely, and I wanna admit it's time to end the ride. Fading it too slowly, were those gonna lift me up this time? You were the only one who got me tripping up inside. All the words you told me, am I reading something different from your eyes? See you for a moment, even hope that I can feel you.
All right, welcome in. Welcome to FanFest. Welcome to the Dignity Health Q&A stage. I'm John Lund from KMBR. Why did the applause stop? I didn't like that at all. That's better. That's better. Okay, you'll get an applause out of this. I think we got shortchanged on the players. We only have Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford, so that's all. That's all. So we got that. We'll do that in just a few minutes. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for braving the weather. Thank you for braving the rain. It is a little chilly, but these are the true fans out here, so we appreciate you coming out. And we're going to talk to some of the docs, and I was just talking to the guys actually in the back, and sponsored by Dignity Health. This is the Dignity Health Q&A stage if you're in the wrong place. The official healthcare provider of the Giants, and hospitals and clinics across the country, and of course, as you know, right here in the Bay Area, including St. Mary's, St. Francis Memorial Hospital in San Francisco, Sequoia Hospital in Redwood City, and Dominican Hospital in Santa Cruz, as well as the clinic right on the Port Walk. Now, the guys are going to come up, and I'm going to try to make this interesting for them because they've done this a couple of times today. And I don't want that look from them like, oh, you're going to ask me that same thing over and over. We're going to spice this up a little bit. You are more than welcome to ask the guys questions, as well as when Brandon and Buster get here as well. Just hold up your hand. I'll let you know ahead of time that my son is here because he's my spotter. I'm blind as a bat. And these lights are shining my face, and they're not helping. So if you want to be demonstrative, you want to do some sort of a dance, whatever you want to do to get noticed, I'll do the best I can. He's your spotter. Get his attention, too. We'll have a bunch of fun. But let's get the doctors up here. The guys coming up today, Bob Murray, who I was speaking with just moments ago. Dr. Chris Chung is here as well from Dignity. And awesome to be joined by Dave Greshner. He is the lead trainer for the Giants as well. So these are the guys. All right, good to see you. These are the guys that keep your Giants healthy. And it's fairly important because – look, it's 162 games. Real quick, I don't want to take up their time, but I played in a fantasy baseball camp one time, and I did it for 7 days. I thought I was going to die after like 3. They kept putting a uniform in my locker. I was like, I'm done. I pitched 1 day. I was on the DL. Oh, they don't call that anymore. But I was on the injured list for about 3 weeks. I mean, what these guys do is absolutely amazing. So really cool stuff to be able to speak with the guys. And let me just ask all you guys, since, Doctor, we were just talking about this, the beginning of the season is obviously very critical for these guys. What kind of shape they come in, I'm sure, is a lot different than maybe what it used to be. Spring training is not a thing where you're getting in shape. These guys are in shape. They know what to do with their bodies. But now we're looking at weather like this, a little bit chilly. Now you're going to go down to Scottsdale, and we're all 100% jealous of that. But early in the season, just what does it take to keep these guys healthy, to get them kind of kicked and get going on the right path?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is making sure they're prepared now in the off season. Everything they're doing now in the last few months is going to set them up for success in spring training and to start the season off, and then carry them all the way through the summer and hopefully till the end of October. So it's a long process. Our guys have been working out for 3 months now, slowly building up. They're doing more baseball work now, and then we got another 6 to 7 weeks in spring training in Arizona to slowly continue to build their baseball work, play more innings, pitch more innings, and get them ready to hit the ground running at the end of March for 9 innings every day. And that's not easy. You did 1 week of fantasy camp. I've seen those guys.
It's not good.
They go down hard.
A lot of hamstrings, a lot of quads.
But, our guys, we're trying to prepare our guys to play 150 games plus, our starters, and it takes a lot of work and effort, mostly in the off season, and then, that's why we have spring training to keep that rolling.
Sure.
Usually at spring training, we have somewhere around 60 or 65 players up. And as Dave said, that allows everyone to sort of play 2 or 3 innings. So when you come down to spring training, those that you're fortunate enough to do come down, you may see your favorite player for only 3 or 4 innings, maybe 1 or 2 bats, maybe 2 innings pitching, but they're gradually working up. And throughout that whole spring training period, our pitchers will get up to 6 innings or 7 innings. And if you come the last week, that's usually when we're moving into what it's going to look like in the rotation.
Yeah, I think just to kind of conclude is that just like any athlete, it's important just to start slow, go at a good pace. Don't go too much too soon. That's where you can avoid injuries.
How about just in general of how we're progressing? Because we see so much progression maybe in medicine. We're fixing things. Maybe, and again, I'm assuming here because I know nothing, but knee injuries seem to be more commonplace, whereas an Achilles is something that's really hurting. But baseball is obviously different than the other sports because of the pitching, because of the arm, because of the velocity. How do you, when you're looking at pitchers, maybe we're seeing more Tommy John because there's more media. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's because we're reporting it more. Is this more? How difficult is it just from a pitcher perspective of keeping these arms right? All the analytics that we have now, if a guy is maybe his velocity's off a little bit or his spin rate is off, we got to take a look at that guy. It's almost like a Ferrari, right? It's almost like a race car where you're looking at an arm. That's what maybe makes it different than the other sports. How difficult is it to gauge pitchers?
Well, it's really difficult, and the Tommy John surgeries has been a big thing in the media. We've had a couple the last years with Cueto and Will Smith the year before that, and we have quite a few minor league players that deal with it, and it kind of goes back to some of the earlier questions of overuse. Guys playing a lot of high school ball, a lot of college ball, year-round ball. They get worn down, and their bodies can only take so much. So we look at all that stuff. We're continually trying to look at load management, how many pitches they throw, how many innings they pitch each year. We look at the analytics of from their velocity to their spin rate. There's a lot of things that go into it, and it's not just one thing. And certainly the sports medicine has gotten better. Everybody wants to have Tommy John now in high school, I feel like, because then they can throw harder afterwards, or at least they perceive that. That's not true. There's a lot of studies out there that disprove that. But we see that all the time. We talk to young players and parents that are asking for that stuff. So we're trying to stay away from that, trying to keep them healthy, strong through nutrition, training, proper mechanics is really key and all that. I think that's one of the biggest things for me is coaching and mechanics, especially for pitchers at a younger age.
Yeah, sure.
And the other thing, even during the game, everyone's very attentive, at least on the training and the coaching side. If you see your player's performance start dropping off, a pitcher, 6th inning, and things aren't going as well as they should, that sort of thing. And remember, we play in a lot of different environments. I mean, in the summertime, it's very nice here, but, we've been back in St. Louis in the summertime when at 7 o'clock at night, it's 100 degrees and the humidity is almost as high. So we watch their performances, their hydration. So we follow all of that in real time. They come in excellent shape, but still, as Dave has mentioned, there's a lot of wear and tear, even in a period of one game.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I think when we look at it with all the athletes and pitching, we talk about the elbows, the whole body is important. Sometimes something like in the foot or something, or the leg is not right, that can lead to the elbow. It's kind of like you see the leak on the floor.
You forget about that, yeah.
Yeah, there's a problem, but where did the leak come from?
Right. Somebody get to that. Buster and Kerr coming here. That's the last thing we need. What happened to those guys? Don't ask. All right, we're up on the dignity stage, and Dr. Chung and Dr. Murray and Dave Greshner's the lead trainer for the Giants. If you just walked in, we're going to have Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford. And again, we're going to have people walking around with microphones. If you have any questions for the doctors, let us know as well, or Dave Greshner, and we will get to your questions. One thing, too, is I brought my 15-year-old, and he's in high school baseball. I'm sure a lot of people have their kids playing baseball or thinking about playing baseball. What kind of training regimen should a young kid be on? My son just started baseball, just got out of soccer. Everybody knows in high school or just in youth sports nowadays, it's just you're going from sport to sport to sport to sport. What are the things maybe to do to avoid injuries, even though he doesn't seem to ever get hurt? And we're in that wrestling stage. I don't like the wrestling stage where he jumps on me all the time. But what kind of things can young kids do to kind of get there, to get ready to go?
I think we talk a lot about do different things, cross-training. Don't just focus on, he's a baseball player.
Yeah.
Don't just stay focused on baseball, do other sports that he likes. One thing might be just, not only we talk physical, but mental health. So like breaks, I think so he doesn't get burnt out on baseball. I think that's probably key too.
Yeah, I think the youth baseball is a tough question to answer. Is when are they ready to do training? When are they physically ready? There's not a good answer to that. Everybody's a little bit different. Everyone develops a little bit different. So you need to be careful about strength training when these kids are ready to. And then they need to be taught properly because a lot of kids just go to the gym and start lifting weights and they don't know what they're doing. So training properly with a professional is really important. And then leading up to pitching, MLB does this Pitch Smarter website, and there's a lot of guidelines on there for throwing, pitch counts. Everybody asks about when they should throw a breaking ball, and there's some good guidelines on that website that we kind of just refer a lot of people to.
It's great. By the way, I appreciate you took my advice to heart to be demonstrative. There's lights in my face. I'm blind if you just walked in. I have a spotter, so just be demonstrative. A little dance will do, and we'll get your question. We had somebody in the middle here.
I have a question. These guys are traveling all year long, and I know when I travel, I have trouble sleeping. So do they ever have that issue and they're staying in different hotels and there's time changes and stuff? And if they do, what you do to help them out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've talked a lot about nutrition today, but sleep is a huge issue. We actually have a sleep consultant that we've worked with for the last 4 or 5 seasons. She does like an intake with the players, talks about their sleep habits, things that help them sleep, things that inhibit their sleep. Everybody's got a phone or an iPad. Those are not good for helping you sleep. Certainly time zone travel is very tough for us. We're on the West Coast. We go east. It screws our guys up. Then we play a night game, a day game. It's quick turnaround. So we do a lot of stuff. We actually customize some of our players' hotel rooms at certain temperatures, certain different pillows. We have encourage guys to travel with pillows. 2 years ago, we started traveling with basically a sleep bag. Not a sleeping bag, but a bag full of products to help them sleep, whether it's tart cherry juice, neck pillows, some supplements that maybe help them get to sleep. So we kind of review that starting in spring training. So we'll start in a couple weeks here, prepping them for the season. But sleep is a huge thing because most of your recovery is going to occur while you're sleeping. And we are trying to get our guys to recover. Playing every day, recovery is the biggest thing. So sleep and nutrition are probably 2 of the most things that young players don't recognize that. And so we're trying to do our best job educating them on that. And of course, our players change quite often, and science is changing. So we're always trying to find newer, better ways to do that.
All right, if you could do it real quick here because we got the guys waiting real quick on the right.
Can you stand up for me?
Just wondering if you can talk a little bit more about mental health and the resources the Giants have in support of their players.
Yeah, we've got a lot of resources. We have a full-time sports psych guy on staff. Honestly, that's more for performance than it is for anything off the field. But we have a lot of resources for other mental health issues. Our guys are normal people. Like they have the same issues that y'all have, whether they're fighting, some family issues or whatever. So, we try to support them with the best care we can. We have a lot of great doctors, not only these 2 guys, but we have a great support system here in the city, down in Arizona, where our minor league affiliates are. So we lean on them for a lot of that stuff. But mental health is a huge thing. It's becoming more public these days, and it's a big part of what we're trying to do.
That's great. How about a hand for our physicians, Dr. Chung and Dr. Murray from Dignity Health, and Dave Greshner, the lead trainer for your San Francisco Giants. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Good to see you again. Take care. Great to see you. Have fun in Scottsdale. All right, shortly we will have Buster Posey, and Brandon Crawford will come up on the stage. And again, not offended that I didn't get that kind of introduction. Not offended at all. But just raise your hand. We'll get the mics around to you. I'll do my best to get to everybody as quickly as we can. We'll kind of have the guys give us what did you do on your winter vacation, and then we'll get to the questions here on the Dignity Health Q&A stage with the guys. And here they come, Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford. All right, so let's just a quick intro with you guys. Off season, I know Buster, you coming back from injury. Brandon, in fact, I heard you on KMBR. I think you were in Costa Rica. So just give us a little update. What did you guys do in the off season? And yeah,
I'll take it first. Yeah, I went on a trip to Costa Rica. It was actually a Nike trip, so it was
nice.
like kind of some Nike sponsored guys throughout baseball. They kind of invited some of those guys, and that was my first time down there. So it was a lot of fun. That was just me and my wife. We also went to Hawaii and Tahoe with the family.
What are you up to?
Well, first thought was that I wore Nike last year and I didn't get an invite. So
You got to be one of their favorites. So.
Hurt my feelings a little bit. Just good family time, rehabbing, trying to get strong, and excited to get on the field here soon.
Very good. All right, any questions for the guys? Let's just go in the front since you're right here, and we'll get to the mics. Go ahead. Yeah, sure. Hang on one second. He's going to get the mic to you.
So I have two questions, one for Crawford and for Posey. So Posey, being an valuable offensive asset, at any point in your career have you planned on switching maybe different positions, maybe to first or third?
No, I never have. I mean, I feel like it's been something that's been brought up kind of since my first year. I've always intended to catch, and that's what I still intend to do.
So Crawford, do you bring that hometown pride into the locker room, and does it carry to the field?
I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely proud to be from the Bay Area and to play for the Giants. I mean, I don't know if I really bring it into the locker room. I guess I'll mix in a Bay Area rapper or something every once in a while in the mix with the music. But definitely proud of being from here and being able to play here every year.
Buster. In the middle. Buster, what did it mean to you when you met Yogi Berra, one of the greatest catchers of all time, and you're one of the greatest catchers in our times today? What did it mean meeting Yogi Berra in New York?
Well, it's one of the coolest people I've ever met. Being a baseball fan myself, I try to appreciate the history of the game and what he was able to accomplish, and not only as a player, but his managerial career as well. And getting to spend a little bit of time with him was time that I'll never forget. It was just like having a conversation with a buddy. He was so down to earth, and got to meet him at his museum and spend some time there, and feel very fortunate that I did get that time with him.
Before we jump out to questions, since we're on this, for both of you guys, how big is the history of the game? And I know the Giants do a tremendous job of bringing back old players, and this is one of the most storied franchises in baseball. So how big of a deal is it for you guys to look back at the history of the game, to speak with a Willie Mays, to obviously Willie McCovey passed over the winter, but all these kind of things, and how important is that to you in the history of the game?
I mean, I think we were both big baseball fans growing up, so we kind of appreciate the history of the game and the players that either our dads talked about or that we watched growing up. Anytime we have a chance to talk to those guys, we kind of soak it up. So fortunately, I was able to talk to Willie McCovey a decent amount, I feel like, throughout the years. And I feel like, to me, he was always the easiest one to talk to. He was so kind of down to earth, like Buster was saying about Yogi Berra. And you could tell how much he paid attention, both on and off the field. He was always asking about my family and how they were doing. And I always appreciated that from him.
You're good?
I'll answer. Yeah, no, I think we're very fortunate to be in this organization, because I hate to say that you take it for granted, but in a sense we take it for granted when you've got, especially in spring training, it could be Willie Mays sitting at the table, it could be Willie McCovey, Gaylord Perry, Marichal might show up, not to mention some of the guys that are younger, and Will Clark, Jeff Kent, Barry Bonds, and I think it's important to remember the older that we get, that those guys went through a lot to get to where they were in their career, and they went through a lot for us to be in the position that we're in as baseball players, and the game to be as strong as it is today, and to kind of reflect and be appreciative of some of the hardships that some of them had to go through.
Sure, absolutely, great answers. Up next, right here.
My question's for Posey. What's your favorite thing about being a catcher?
Favorite thing about being a catcher? Getting a prime time seat to watch this guy make good plays. That's my favorite thing.
He's trying to get that trip to Costa Rica, clearly.
Put that call into Nike for me, pal.
Yeah, not foul tips, probably. All right, over to the right here.
Brandon, I know music is important to you. Do you have a plan for a walk-up song this year?
I'm still working on that, actually. That's a good question. I like to keep some of the ones that I've had in the past, usually, just because I feel like some of those have worked for me, and I like how it sounds when I'm walking out. But I do try to mix in some new ones, so I'm still working on that right now. If anybody has suggestions, let me know.
Do you have a suggestion?
Okay, I mean, I'll see what I can do.
That's a no. All right, over in the corner there.
This question is for Buster. Tell me what it was like playing all 9 positions in one game when you were playing at FSU.
Good question.
Yeah, every time I get that question now, I always start with, I can't believe we were talking about it in 2019. Because when I did it, I didn't think a whole lot of it until the next day. I think it was Wilpon, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, on ESPN, and Kornheiser, and they were crushing me, saying I was showing the team up. I'm like, what the heck? Like, wasn't the intention at all. But, sensationalism, that's the world we live in today. Anyways, I'll get off on a tangent. But it was fun. I think you have to be a catcher to do that, because they're not going to throw somebody back behind the plate that doesn't catch, because we obviously are the toughest in the game, and we don't want anybody getting hurt.
Let's see, right here in the middle.
So when you have an opponent coming up, and of course you study for every opponent, what's the balance between studying up for offense and studying up for defense? And is that different from position players to catchers? Pitchers obviously have one thing to practice, but position players and catchers?
So that's for both of us, or? Yeah. For me, a lot of it, and I'll let Carl answer, but for me, it's dependent on who you're playing. I mean, when we play a team in the division, 18 times a year, whatever it may be, midway or later in the year, there might not be as much prep work as there is at the beginning of the year. Or if you're playing a team from the American League, you might have to take a little bit more time. Kind of the same offensively as well. If it's a guy that I know pretty well, it might not be as much time that goes into it. And it's different for every player. You've got to balance your analytics and your studying time, and not forget about your instincts as well.
Yeah, that part's the same for me. I think as a position player, he gets a way bigger packet to study than I do. But if you're playing a team 18 times or whatever it may be, and you're kind of on that last series of the year, you don't really need to look at it as much as you did maybe in April. But Ron Wotus puts a lot of hard work into studying hitters and kind of where I should be positioned, and we kind of go back and forth on some players. Some players I might know a little bit, so I don't really have to look at them. But then there are younger guys that I have to study up a little bit more.
Just for you, since you just brought it up, shifts are always talked about. We're talking about MLB rule changes, what they could potentially do. Do you like the shift? I guess you like the shift when it works, and you hate it when it doesn't work. What's your thought on it?
I mean, to me, I think my numbers have actually been decent, like from the offensive standpoint. My numbers have been all right against the shift, but I feel like I get so much more mad when I line out to the shortstop playing right behind second base than I am happy for beating the shift, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't love it, but, I mean, it's part of today's game, so you kind of have to learn how to beat it.
Yeah. Do you, Buster, you were just talking about the packets, too, that you guys get. How difficult is it, or is it just something like you look at what you need to look at, maybe some of the stuff you throw out, some of the stuff is useful? How do you kind of look at the overload now that we have from a numbers standpoint in baseball?
Well, we're not doing it alone, right? We've got pitching coaches and other guys and pitchers that are having their input and they're studying as well. So it's not like you're taking the burden on completely by yourself. So I think that helps a lot. Again, there is so much information out there. You have to be able to take in and filter what you think is going to be most important for you, and then some of the other stuff just kind of goes to the wayside.
Yeah. All right, the corner there.
Buster, this question's for you. Yesterday, you made a tweet. You're not one to generally do something like that. How do you think we can fix the issue you brought up? And is pace of play really that big of an issue?
Well, to me, the issue is competition across the board. Like, I don't think there's one fan base that has an MLB team in the city or close to them that doesn't want their team to be competitive. So I think somehow the notion that it's okay not to be competitive for any window of time has become acceptable. I think that's my issue with it. It's like, as a kid, you play the game and you're competitive. That's what's fun. You do it in high school, you do it in college. So why at the highest level where you've got the best baseball players in the world would we accept anything other than the best competition across the board? And that's my outtake on it. And really, it's pretty simple.
Right in the middle there. Oh, go ahead. Go right.
Hi, guys. You guys have been with the organization for quite some time, and I was curious, who do you think had the biggest bromance on your team?
Biggest bromance is the question, by the way, if you didn't hear it. Biggest bromance. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. They're huddling. Hang on a second. I guess we have our answer. That was a visual answer. All right. Yeah, we're done. All right. Next. Where are we at? Corner?
What's your favorite superhero?
That's it.
Superman, probably, because I mean, Superman can do everything. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't pick Superman personally, but he can run fast, he can fly, he's super strong. I mean, as long as nobody has kryptonite, you're all good. So.
Can we get someone down here? You ready there? You can go there.
Yeah, I agree with you. What's your favorite superhero? I want to know what's your favorite superhero.
Spider-Man.
We're here.
So my question is for both of you guys. Obviously, the last couple of seasons have not gone as planned, whether it's because of performance or injuries or whatnot. Do you think that failure or lack of success motivates you guys more than success, like winning a championship? Do you think the struggles and the downs of the game, which are commonplace, motivate you more than the highs of winning?
Yeah, no, I think failure will definitely motivate you. I don't know how much more you say, but it definitely leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And I speak for myself. I mean, I expect myself to play better than I have the last couple of years, and hopefully, through hard work and preparation and execution, that will happen.
I mean, I think it's a combination of both. We've had a lot of success, and then the last couple of years we've had failure. So the combination of knowing how good it feels to win and have that success, and then now we know how terrible it feels to have some losing seasons. I think the combination of that just drives you even more and motivates you more to win this year.
Oh, go ahead.
My question is for Buster Posey. How did you get your nickname Buster?
So it is a nickname, but I've been called that since birth. I guess the story is my dad's grandmother called him Buster, and my legal name is Gerald Dempsey Posey III, and none of that. I'm glad they don't call me any of that personally. So yeah, Crawl likes to call me Jerry in a very condescending voice. You want to show him? Show him. Tell him how you say Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
Yeah. I mean, if that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what does.
It's kind of like how Buster calls Joey PP. Joe doesn't love that very much either, so it's kind of the same thing.
Over here.
Hey guys, thanks for making yourselves available. Not a question, but just thank you for being good role models for our kids. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks for saying that.
Corner there.
Hi, this question's for Brandon. Would you ever consider putting your Clubhouse playlist on Spotify, just like every so often?
I think a couple of them have been on there. I personally didn't do it, but I think the Giants put a couple of, maybe not the Clubhouse mixes, because those are different every day.
It's really not that good, though. So.
Well, I mean, they're pretty good, but the batting practice mixes they've put on Spotify, I'm pretty sure.
Is there anybody that when they get is there still a boom box in the clubhouse? Like if somebody gets the music or the rights to the music where you go, oh no.
Well, it's 2019, so we don't have a boom box. We do have a speaker
The rights
system.
to the music, no boom box, you know what I mean?
We do have a speaker system in the clubhouse.
Yeah, speaker system.
And I feel like I've kind of taken over the role there. I feel like people don't really.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, take it. You got it. You want it?
No, because then you'll get mad.
All right. Here.
So I have a question for both of you. My son is in baseball. He's 13 years old. He gets really discouraged. At what age for you guys did it just click? Like, at what point did you realize that you were as good as you are? And how do you encourage someone like that to keep going? Because he's really just, he gets a strikeout, he gets really discouraged. I mean, he tries and he practices and practices and practices. But at what age for you guys did it like physically click?
Like 28. 2015, I think, was like my breakout year. No, I mean, I think I realized I probably had a future in baseball potentially my junior year of high school. That's when I had finally had a pretty good year where I was like, okay, I might have a chance of playing in college and hopefully professionally at some point. I think when I was a little kid in Little League and stuff, I would make the All-Star team. I was probably better than average, but not really like a standout kid or anything like that. And I mean, to help them with the strikeouts, look at how many times we strike out every year. That's part of the game. It happens.
Yeah, I would agree with Carl. I think the main thing is sometimes for kids, all they see is highlights and they see the good stuff happening. And the game of baseball, especially for a position player, is so much failure. And that's just part of the game. And it's something that you've got to embrace in a sense and evaluate those times that you fail and say, okay, this is what happened, this is why it happened, and now what can I do to change something to try to succeed in that situation next time. But shoot, yeah, you gotta be able to kind of brush stuff off quickly in this game.
So this is a bit of a two-parter. First off, Buster, how's the hip? And then second off, you guys don't have Yasiel Puig in the division anymore. But when you guys were playing the field, Bumgarner's on the hill. When he steps into the batter's box, what was going through your guys' minds?
First part's my hip, then I'm going to let Crawford answer the second part. Hip's feeling great. Thank you for asking. Everything's gone smoothly. I know, there's some boxes to check off here coming up soon in spring training with ramping up the activity, but very encouraged and excited to get back out on the field.
I guess I got the second part of that question. So, I don't know. I'm ready for a ground ball personally. Puig has pulled a lot of ground balls off of Bum in the past, so I'm personally ready for a ground ball, but then also ready to come to the mound at any point, because that could potentially be a little incident there also. So.
That's how you answer a question professionally in the middle.
One of the things I appreciate about professional athletes is when they lend their name to something important in the community. And Buster, your work with pediatric cancer is incredible. And I'm wondering about why that. Of all the things you could have lent your name to, what was it about that you got behind, made you get it behind it?
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all. I think the most important thing for my wife, Kristen, and I is that we don't ever want it to be about us. We want it to be about the kids and the families that are going through such a hard time. And to answer your question, why, we knew we wanted to be able to give back, but we wanted to make sure it was something we were both really passionate about. And Kristen met a lady who had a child 7 days older than ours and was diagnosed with stage 4 neuroblastoma when he was 2. And his mom has become one of our good friends, his mom and dad have. And she was just very forthcoming with a lot of the struggles, the lack of funding that children receive, the medication and treatments that they have to put in their little bodies that are intended for adults. And it really just struck a chord with us. And we've been surrounded by just such a great community and group of people that are willing to do so much for these families that a lot of time are just, I can't imagine being a parent and having to work. Probably both parents are working. There's probably multiple kids in the family, and then you've got one that's fighting for their life. So you're trying to make a decision. You're trying to stay afloat, but at the same time, you got to worry about your kid maybe not living. So we've just tried to be a support system for them. And again, the Giants and many others around us, Craw and his wife have been to the event and have supported it. And they're just so thankful for all of that. And there's still a lot of work to do. And I think there's a lot of good things that are coming. There's a lot of brilliant minds out there that are working on cracking the code to a lot of this. And from what I've heard and learned, if some pediatric cancer is solved, it may crack the case for adult cancers. So there's motivation. Obviously, I don't think there needs to be any more motivation than to help children. But if you need it, there's even more there now. So you can tell it's something I could talk about and I'm very passionate about. And again, hope big things to come, because it's not easy. To see these kids like they are, and just want to be somebody kind of to fight for them.
That's awesome. And do we have one in the front here? In the gray? Oh, I'm sorry. Go right in.
Yeah, so this one's for Buster. So I'm a catcher for my varsity baseball team. I'm 6'1" and I weigh 155 pounds. And generally, I meet people every week, and whenever they ask me what position I played, I said catcher, and they're really surprised, because they expect them to be over 200 pounds and 5'10" and 6'1". So my question is, do you think how big you are really matters when you're playing the 2 position?
No, I think that's the cool thing about baseball, right? You can see guys different heights, weights, and it's all about how much you want to work. How bad do you want to work? How much do you love what you're doing? And I guarantee you, I put on a lot of weight from the time I was your age to 21. So I'm sure you will put on weight as well. But no, I don't think it matters. You can look across the league and see guys that are lots of different heights and weights. So you just got to be able to put the work in. What was that? Oh, okay. Austin Barnes, he said. Little guy.
Plays catcher.
I couldn't hear him. He was mumbling like normal.
Young man, you will
that's the bromance. We can say that.
It's over. Young man, you will have plenty of time to put on weight. Just wait. It will happen. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. I'm Ayush. I'm from Pleasanton, California, your hometown. Go Falcons. My question is, what's your typical pregame routine, and how much do you pay attention to the data analytics?
How much do we pay attention to what?
Data analytics.
Analytics, data and analytics. Pre-game routine for me, I mean, after batting practice, I usually come in and eat, get my phone ready to throw on the boom box that we have in there.
Oh, boy.
Just carry it around the clubhouse on my shoulder.
Hey, those are making a comeback. I saw those. Like a Super Bowl or something.
And put a playlist on, and then start getting dressed and ready for the game. Data and analytics. I mean, I look at more film probably than I do the analytic stuff, because then you just start looking at numbers, and you're like, okay, I don't even know what some of this means. Where if you look at video, you can actually see what the guy's slider is doing, or what the guy's curveball is doing, what the guy's fastball is doing. Where on a piece of paper you can't really see that. So I like to look at film of the starting pitcher, and then typically the bullpens at the start of a new series against a new team. And then every day I'll kind of look at the starter for the next game. So I don't look a whole lot at the analytic stuff.
We're off to the right here.
Hi. This question is for both of you. At the end of your career, what do you want your greatest baseball achievement to have been?
Well, I mean, I would love to win another championship before I was done. Wow.
He's already won everything else, every other award that you can win. So, I mean, it's the same for me though. A third World Series for me would be at the top of my list right now.
Middle.
Hi. Just a real quick question. 49ers or Raiders, and why?
49ers. Why? I mean, why? My dad was a 49ers fan, so I became a 49ers fan, just like he was a Giants fan, so I grew up a Giants fan.
I don't really watch football, so I couldn't fairly answer that.
The way back?
This is for both of you. Favorite pitcher to go up against, and why?
I don't think I can answer favorite pitcher to go up against.
I don't know if they want to give that away.
I can't.
I can. My favorite pitcher to face is Madison Bumgarner. I faced him one time in live BP and owned him. And he wants me to face him every year in the spring now. And I'm like, no chance, because there's no way I'm getting any better. I was like 4 for 5 off of him. And he would probably hit me too, so.
In the front.
Hi, Buster. I love you. So, what in your baseball life? Baseball is your life for both of you. What are the fun and gratifying moments? I mean, other than obviously championship. We love championships.
So the question is, what are the fun and gratifying moments in baseball other than championships, right? I would say, man, it's the little things. Like, you don't realize, or I don't realize how much I miss just playing catch when I haven't been out on the field with the guys all winter, and simple stuff like that. You know, taking batting practice, and you remember sometimes in the grind of a season, especially if it's not a good season, you forget some of those small things that make the game so great. So I think that's my answer. Just the little stuff, like going out in the yard with your kid and playing catch or taking batting practice. And I don't know, there's so many people can identify with that. I think that's what makes it special.
Right in the middle.
Okay, first off, I have to get it done or they're going to kill me. Angel says hi to Buster. Ginny says hi to Crawford. They would have killed me if I didn't do that. Okay, so since it's FanFest, can you share like one of your favorite fan interactions that you've had?
I can't think of a specific one off the top of my head.
I got one. I mean, for me, I keep going back to the championships, but 10 we won in Texas, 12 was Detroit, 14 was KC. But I'll always remember after celebrating coming off the field and just seeing the barrage of Giants fans there and being able to see their excitement and happiness. That sticks out for me. I wouldn't say it's a singular moment with one person, but it was that collective feeling of what was accomplished for the city.
Again, I don't think I have a specific one, but I think some of my favorite moments with fans is maybe after batting practice or something when I'm signing autographs on the field and you see like kids light up, their faces light up just because they're able to say hi to you or get an autograph from you. I mean, because that was me as a little kid. I don't think I ever got on the field, but just to be able to get an autograph, how excited and how happy I was to be able to do that as a kid. And so I kind of am able to see that now from a player's perspective, and it's pretty cool.
I think a lot of these fans can remember, obviously, because it's not that long ago, how amazed are you guys when you're going down Market and as far as the eye can see, I mean, you got fans on either side. I mean, that gives you goosebumps. I remember just standing there and just watching all these people, and it's like, doesn't anybody work? I mean, there's like 2 million people out there. I mean, just the passion for when you guys win, when you guys were just going down the street in those cars, that was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it's definitely something I won't ever forget. Being able to ride down the streets, and it's just packed on both sides of the street there. And it was raining, I think, one of the parades, and people were still out there. They didn't care. I think that's something we appreciate from you Giants fans.
It was amazing. Let's see. I know I had one right over there. Yep.
How you guys doing? Injuries are a part of the game, whether it's a big one or a small one. But some of those nagging injuries that take place, how important is it to talk to like Dave Grashner or any of the other coaches or folks when it comes to some of the nagging injuries and being open and honest about that before they get too bad?
I think I realized how important the nagging injuries are this past season because my knee started kind of bugging me right around the All-Star break last year, and I probably didn't take it as serious. I thought it would be something that would go away. I mean, I told our training staff about it, but I probably didn't say how much it was bugging me because I wanted to stay out there and play. But it definitely started affecting my hitting, my range on defense, and I wasn't helping the team as much as if I would have just told them like, hey, I should probably take 10 days or so, get this thing gone, so then I could help out the rest of the season. So I mean, it's definitely part of the game. It's something that you never want to go through, but you know, it's something that you have to deal with.
All right, we got time for 2 quick ones.
Thanks, John. Buster, when you were growing up and on into the minor leagues, who were the catchers that you, other than Yogi and I'm sure Boch, who were the catchers that you patterned yourself after, wanted to be like, and the same thing for shortstops for Craw?
Yeah, so I started catching my sophomore year in college. So I was, any chance I got, I was just watching a Major League Baseball game, and I was watching whoever was on TV and trying to pick up nuances from them. I don't think there was one person in particular. I've watched a lot of Yachty. He's, I guess, 5, 6 years older than me, and have watched kind of the way that he gets his body in position to block. He might get his body in position to throw. But yeah, I think you take a little bit, like this guy does this well, and then this guy does this well, and you try to apply it to your game. But to your point, I absolutely did not watch Boch. He's way too old for me to have watched him.
Somebody's got to be recording that, right? All right,
Boch?
one more quick one in the corner.
This is for both of you guys. What are your opinions on the possibility of the Raiders playing in your park?
I heard earlier from a good source that it's probably not going to happen. So. So I'm not even going to answer that.
Larry's standing over there.
He's right over there. The good source is right over there.
Yeah, get that guy a mic over there. Hey, let's hear it for Buster and Brandon. Thanks for coming out. Thanks, Buster. Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it, man. Good to see you again. Have a great year. Hey, thanks again. Thanks to Dr. Chung, Dr. Murray. Thanks to Dave Greshner. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate you Giants fans, especially given the weather. Really appreciate it for a great season. Thanks as well to listening to KMBR, the Sports Leader. Have a great day.